Chapter 1997. Meng Jiugong was dumbfounded upon hearing this. He blurted out, "Is it really possible to achieve the coexistence of the 9 fleshes?" Qin Nan frowned and asked, "Jiugong, does the coexistence of the 9 fleshes refer to the 10 ancient fleshes, where a person has all 9 fleshes?" Meng Jiugong took a deep breath and said after some time, "That's right. However, I'm not too sure about it. I only know that in order to achieve the coexistence of the 9 fleshes, one must possess the second-ranked flesh of Devour and achieve the perfect mastery of the flesh of Devour to devour the remaining 8 fleshes. Besides, once the 9 fleshes coexist, the Tao of heaven and earth won't tolerate it. It will eventually trigger a terrifying calamity with a miserable outcome." Meng Jiugong was struggling to calm his thoughts. Anyone who possessed a single one of the 10 ancient fleshes would possess outstanding strength and achieve great things in the end. How terrifying would it be to possess all 9 fleshes? "Does that mean I just have to devour the other 8 fleshes?" Qin Nan asked. "No, the flesh of Devour might be powerful and extraordinary, but it won't be able to defeat the impenetrable sacred flesh. It can only devour the remaining 8 fleshes." Meng Jiugong shook his head. Qin Nan frowned even more. He could tell that Lu Gufeng was telling them to be careful. However, if the man could not devour the flower of eternity, what was there for him to be careful of? It seemed like Lu Gufeng was only telling him to be careful of his opponent. After all, he was well aware of Lu Gufeng's strength. Besides, Lu Gufeng's cultivation had improved significantly over the past 2 months. The fact that the man was able to defeat him and devour the flower of eternity clearly indicated how powerful he was. "Jiugong, the man will surely come for you. Once we reach the immortal-slaying river, you should act as the bait and see if you can lure him out and defeat him," Qin Nan said after a slight ponder. He had already treated Meng Jiugong as his friend. He would lend his friend a hand if he was in trouble. "Qin Nan, I appreciate your kindness, but there's no need for that. The other party isn't a fool. If they know that you're with me, they definitely won't act rashly." Meng Jiugong's lips curled upward as he said, "Besides, even though my cultivation isn't outstanding, my flesh isn't weak either. Besides, there are many experts from our sect in the Death Zone." Qin Nan patted him on the shoulder. The two of them didn't say anything else and continued on their way. Meng Jiugong stopped being lazy after sensing the danger. Not only did he use the flower of eternity to cultivate the flesh of good luck, he also asked Qin Nan about cultivation. 3 hours later, Qin Nan and Meng Jiugong stopped in a secluded spot in a mountain. They looked up. It was as if a peerless existence had slashed open a huge ravine in front of them. A faint golden river flowed forward with a tremendous aura. It was the immortal-slaying river. Unless there was a specific time, any cultivator that tried to force their way in would be crushed into pieces by the force in the river. Beside the immortal-slaying river were cities and palaces of various sizes. Some cultivators had arrived as the day of the Death Zone's opening was approaching. The other side of the immortal-slaying river, which was the deepest part of the Death Zone, was shrouded in a gray mist with all kinds of towering trees. There was an icy glow in the distance, as if it was going to penetrate the entire sacred area. The halberd of Tao is indeed terrifying. Even though it's no longer as strong as before, the aura from the tip of the halberd alone is enough to make me feel uneasy, Meng Jiugong exclaimed. Qin Nan remained silent. He stared at the tip of the halberd. A familiar feeling rose in his heart. The Tao-jolting saber art in his body was activated on its own. Whoosh! At that instant, a series of rapid piercing sounds could be heard. Qin Nan and Meng Jiugong looked in the direction of the sound and saw an enormous bird over 10,000 zhang long made of golden flames soaring into the immortal-slaying river. What's that? A beast? No. Take a closer look. There's a lamp on the bird's head. The cultivators in the cities and palaces were startled. Qin Nan and Meng Jiugong noticed the lamp too. The lamp was not huge. It was only around 5 zhang tall. It was engraved with phoenixes of different shapes. Even though it was not emitting any aura, it felt like their hearts were being sucked into a vortex when they looked at it. Isn't that the exquisite immortal lamp? Wasn't it supposed to appear on the other side of the death zone? Why did it turn into a huge bird and fly here? Meng Jiugong was startled. Then, a shocking scene appeared. When the golden flame bird flew above the immortal slaying river, the immortal slaying river did not react at all. It flew into the depths and soon disappeared without a trace. That's the exquisite immortal lamp. Why did it come to the other side? Is it because of the halberd of Chigu? Quick, let's tell senior brother about it. Don't let him come here for nothing. The cultivators in the cities and palaces soon collected their thoughts and transmitted their thoughts. TSK, the halberd of Chigu has triggered a series of rare phenomena, and the exquisite immortal lamp is here too. Qin Nan, I have a feeling that there are going to be a lot of cultivators coming here. Meng Jiugong's eyes flickered with astonishment. Qin Nan's eyes squinted. The exquisite immortal lamp was supposed to appear on the other side. Was it because of the halberd of Chigu, or the place that the pattern spirit mentioned? He did not think it was likely. It was more likely that someone was doing it on purpose. The others would not think so. After all, who would be willing to send the exquisite immortal lamp, one of the 3 exceptional Tao, to another place if they could control it? However, Qin Nan was different. He purposely spread the news after nurturing the tree of wonderful fruit to attract the cultivators here. If someone was doing it on purpose, there was only one reason. It was to lure most of the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers in the death zone here. As Meng Jiugong mentioned, under the circumstances and the fact that he was the successor of the 5th immortal that many factions were interested in who would not come. Jiugong, I think we should leave this place for now, Qin Nan said. That's what I was thinking too. Meng Jiugong nodded. The exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers of many factions would be here. They would easily be discovered if they were to hide nearby. Chapter 1998. The opening of the immortal slaying river. The two walked for a long time. They came to a stop when they found a secluded cave. They set up some forbidding auras to conceal their presence. Qin Nan sat with his legs crossed and activated the Battle Dao immortal manuscript. When he took a glimpse at the tip of the Cheeto halberd, he felt a mysterious connection between him and the halberd. There was still some time left. He decided to take a closer look at it. He might be able to learn something from it. As the day of the opening of the immortal slaying river approached, more cultivators came from all directions. It was possible to sense powerful auras sweeping across the sky. Meng Jiugong's flesh of good luck finally had a breakthrough. The red glow he was emitting had become a lot stronger, like flowing water. A day and a night later, the disciples of the 9 Palace Golden Immortal Sect delivered various news. Holy crap, Qin Nan, almost half of the people from the 2 factions in the Death Zone, the Hall of Rogue Immortals and the Heaven Will Pavilion are here. The people of the 14 Supreme Taoism factions, the 100 Primordial Tribes, the Shurdao Tribe, the Mumin Sect, and the Ancient Taboo are here too. Meng Jiugong took a quick glance. Even though he was mentally prepared, he was still astounded. He said, "Let me read the names of the exceptional geniuses: Jiang Anai, Nie Wufeng, Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinin, Tang Tianjun, Feng Wuheng, Su Nu, and the 5 rebels of the ancient taboo." Meng Jiugong read out more than 80 names, and they were only the ones he knew so far. After all, many exceptional geniuses had come to the Death Zone a few dozen years ago, or even a few hundred years ago. The number of exceptional geniuses had increased significantly after the first sacred area of the heavens and earth. In addition to it, the peerless rulers who had improved from the minor success stage of the Tao realm to the greater success stage were not included. Not only were these peerless rulers on par with the exceptional geniuses, they might even be a lot stronger than them. This grand event could be described as a place full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Qin Nan unleashed his battle intent and emitted a blue glow. The forbidding auras that were isolating themselves from the crowd began to crack loudly. In the end, Qin Nan withdrew his aura, closed his eyes, and remained silent. Meng Jiugong could roughly sense Qin Nan's current state, so he fell silent. Time trickled by. No one knew how much time had passed. Boom! A shocking explosion echoed across the heavens and earth. "It's open," Meng Jiugong blurted out. Although all of this had nothing to do with him fundamentally, he couldn't help but feel a little excited when he thought of the grand scene that was about to unfold. Qin Nan nodded and flew into the distance together with him. He could see countless cultivators inside the palaces in the cities. Many of them were floating in the distance. As for the immortal slaying river, beams of dazzling light erupted and shot straight to the end of the world. They emitted thunderous explosions, causing the wind and clouds to change and the aura to surge. It was as if the former was venting some kind of resentment. The situation lasted for more than 100 breaths before the light pillars scattered into light dots and surged in all directions. It was an astonishing sight. Following it, deep drum beats came from deep inside the death zone. The water of the immortal slaying river began to boil vigorously. Following a series of splashing sounds, several stone pillars appeared. The stone pillars had the faces of ferocious beasts with ancient auras. They were covered in obscure runes, yet they were unaffected by the terrifying power of the river. "The path has appeared, let's go." The cultivators immediately unleashed their powerful auras, which turned into various kinds of light rays and sprang forward. The surrounding void was shaken by these auras. The rapid sounds of the air breaking gathered together and were incomparably loud. Such a scene was like the eruption of an unprecedented beast tide. Meng Jiugong's heart skipped a beat. He blurted out, "Qin Nan, should we go later? If we go there now, the people of those factions will surely notice us." Meng Jiugong screamed before he could finish his sentence. The reason being that Qin Nan had grabbed his body and dragged him forward at a shocking pace. Now that the immortal slaying river had appeared, no one knew what was going on under the halberd of Tao, thus it was important to take the initiative first. He had already backed away to avoid unnecessary trouble, but there was no need for him to do so now. "Qin Nan, you've shown up." Jiang Enai was the first to notice his presence among the cultivators. His aura tripled when he saw Qin Nan flying toward him. His aura accumulated on the ancient sword. "Qin Nan." Nie Wufeng, Xiang Tianqi, Feng Wuheng, Lu Qinin, Su Nu, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses soon noticed Qin Nan. Qin Nan did not hesitate. He executed 2 arts of Tao seeking simultaneously. "Disciples, no matter what happens, our priority is to kill Qin Nan." Xiang Tianqi and the rest of the exceptional geniuses transmitted their thoughts. Some factions wanted to kill Qin Nan, some wanted to suppress Qin Nan, and some had other plans, but either way they had to defeat Qin Nan first. The peerless rulers immediately fixed their eyes on Qin Nan. They quickly performed hand seals and unleashed all kinds of Tao arts into the sky like immortal dragons. Holy crap! Meng Jiugong's face turned pale. He was trembling in fear. As the future sect leader of the 9-Palace Golden Immortal Sect, his wisdom was extraordinary. However, there were just too many Tao techniques that were coming at him. They were densely packed and uncountable. Even a 9 Heavens Supreme in the early stage would struggle to survive the attacks, let alone them. Qin Nan immediately executed the Skystride blow. He moved rapidly in the sky and dodged the Tao arts while firing wisps of saber intents at the same time. Even though many cultivators were attacking him, they did not surround him. The area in the sky was so huge that he did not even have a chance to unleash the power of the Flower of Eternity. "Qin Nan, I won't let it happen again." Lu Qinin transmitted her thoughts. Her eyes were fixed on Qin Nan as she performed a series of hand seals. It was obvious that she had come up with a plan to deal with the flower of eternity. Qin Nan wore a calm smile. His blue-red hair drifted in the wind. He remained silent. Buzz. At this moment, an incomparably terrifying sharpness rushed to the end of the sky. Everything within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles suddenly turned pitch black as thunder rumbled. Chapter 1999. Heaven protecting godly gate. Countless cultivators at the scene were startled. Following it, the ground began to shake vigorously. Strong gusts of wind swept in all directions while lightning struck down fiercely. Everything was dyed purple-white. The halberd of Chigu suddenly flew out from the ground and flew at Qin Nan. It was incredibly huge, over 100,000 zhang long, but in less than a breath's time, it would shrink rapidly every inch closer to Qin Nan. It was only less than 2 zhang long when it was standing right in front of Qin Nan. Qin Nan was not surprised at all. He already knew he could summon the halberd of Chigu and use it for himself. Qin Nan stared at the pitch-black, icy spear for a few moments before he reached out his hand and grabbed it. Bang! The divine battle spirit and the magnificent illusionary figure summoned by the Lord of all worlds appeared behind him on their own. Their ancient auras and formidable battle intents were 10 times stronger than before. Meng Jiugong's eyes widened. He was the closest to Qin Nan, thus he clearly sensed the changes. It felt like Qin Nan had completed some kind of ancient transformation. He had an indescribable imperious aura as if he was looking down at everything in the world. Qin Nan waved the halberd of Dao melting. The shocking rare phenomena dissipated. He looked at Lu Qingyin and said, "Are you still going to attack me?" Lu Qingyin's heart sank. Her expression shifted. In addition to her, Xiang Tianqi, Nie Wufeng, the 5 rebels, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers were wearing grim looks too. That being said, they were not too surprised either. They had already guessed it. Lu Qingyin soon calmed her thoughts. She said calmly, "Qin Nan, you don't have to use it to threaten us. It's already damaged. Its power is not as strong as before. Besides, if I'm not mistaken, the sudden appearance of the halberd of Chigu in the death zone must be a trap set up by the 5th immortal, the divine god of battle. He wants you to use its remaining power to break something, right?" The eyes of many cultivators flickered. Qin Nan smiled faintly and said, "That's my guess as well. Furthermore, its power was indeed not as strong as before. It could only use it one last time. However, I can guarantee that this time, it will be enough to destroy any one of you." Qin Nan waved his arm and pointed the cold tip of his halberd at Lu Qingyin. Lu Qingyin and the cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits were startled. They subconsciously took a few steps back. The aura that burst out of the man's body was absolutely terrifying. It felt like a peak 9 heaven supreme was staring at them murderously. "Let's go." Qin Nan no longer looked at her. He flew ahead with Meng Jiugong. "Follow them." Xiang Tianqi, Nie Wufeng, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers yelled as they collected their thoughts. Lu Qingyin bit her lips and calmed her thoughts. She flew forward. Countless cultivators were densely packed together. It was quite a shocking sight to behold. However, no one dared to attack Qin Nan. The Chigu halberd was just too intimidating for them. No one was willing to take the risk. As for the ancient taboo and the heaven-repelling ancient sect that had their men of sacrifice and puppets, they were not entirely afraid of the Chigu halberd, but it would not do them any good to fight Qin Nan now. If Lu Qingyin's speculation was right, they would have to wait until Qin Nan used the Chigu halberd first. "Qin Nan, you were so cool just then." Meng Jiugong blushed in excitement. He transmitted his voice, "So many people were stunned by you." Qin Nan rolled his eyes and said, "It's only temporary. It won't be the same once I use the Chigu halberd. I suggest you stay away from me to avoid being caught in the crossfire." Meng Jiugong chuckled and said, "I know what I'm doing, don't you worry." Qin Nan soon saw the ravine. It was spacious and bottomless. Even the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle were unable to see through it. He could only see the head of a ferocious beast floating in the air with a menacing aura. There was a path made of bones leading to the mouth of the beast. It was impossible to tell where it led. The cultivators had various thoughts in their mind. Many of them glanced at Qin Nan. Qin Nan glanced at the ownerless heaven pattern that was emitting a faint glow in his divine sense. He brought Meng Jiugong and flew into the path without hesitation. "Don't worry, we'll wait until he goes in." Many people waved their hands and said. As soon as Qin Nan landed on the white bones in the mouth of the beast, the darkness of the abyss began to ripple like water ripples. Qin Nan tensed. He quickly glanced into the ravine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Wisps of blinding immortal rays burst out of it and landed in the surroundings of the chasm. There were magnificent palaces, broken weapons, and strange plants. "That's the soul source grass. An immortal blessing level 3-lined fruit?" Many cultivators glanced at it passionately. Their eyes turned into rays of light and headed straight for the palaces and rare plants. They knew the place Qin Nan was heading to was most likely an extraordinary place with incredible successions and fortunate encounters. However, there were just too many exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers that had come to visit him. Even if they had to risk their lives, they could not afford to do it now. "Let's go." Xiang Tianqi, Nie Wufeng, Lu Qinin, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers were relieved. They flew toward the bones. Qin Nan and Meng Jiugong withdrew their gazes and followed the path of bones. Around 10 breaths later, the scenery on both sides changed rapidly. 10 suns were floating in the sky, the ground turned into an ocean, the sky turned into a city, and other shocking rare phenomena took place continuously. Meng Jiugong was utterly terrified. Finally, a circular glow over 1,000 zhang tall and 500 zhang wide appeared at the end of the path of bones. It seemed to have gathered the energy of the heavens and earth at its center, causing it to twist continuously. Qin Nan paused for a brief moment before stepping into it. He and Meng Jiugong found themselves in a white space. The place was spacious with no end in sight. There was only an ancient door in front of them. The door was faint golden in color and covered in runes. Even though it was not enormous, its aura felt like it was able to suppress the heavens and earth. Everyone subconsciously felt intimidated by it, not daring to offend it. Especially on the left and right door frames, there were 2 lines of bloody word. Each word was emitting a monstrous aura, causing one's heart to tremble in fear. Chapter 2000. The Other Side, the Heaven-Protecting Godly Gate? What's that? Xiang Tianqi, Nie Wufeng, Lu Qinin, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers were confused when they saw the gate. A peerless ruler of the Wenga tribe said with a wry smile when he saw many people looking at him, "I've only heard of the Immortal Suppressing Gate and the Tao Protector Gate, but I've never heard of the Heaven-Protecting Godly Gate. It even dares to boast so shamelessly." He wasn't the only one. Almost all of the cultivators didn't take the sect's words to heart. Even the terrifying battle that took place in the past only left a great impact on the First Immortal Realm. It did not destroy the First Immortal Realm. Jiang and I seemed to be lost in his thoughts. He had a feeling that he had seen the gate somewhere before. Apart from him, no one noticed the first exceptional genius of the heaven-repelling ancient sect, Feng Wuheng, whose eyes were filled with astonishment and disbelief at the start, before it was replaced by a hint of joy. The heaven-protecting godly gate, there really was a heaven-protecting godly gate in this world. If that was the case, the thing must be inside the gate too. Meanwhile, the 5 rebels of the ancient taboo, Meng Shangyue, and the others exchanged confused glances with one another. Why was the exquisite immortal lamp sucked into the gate? Qin Nan glanced at the crowd. He knew no one was going to make the first move. He unleashed his immortal force and slashed at the gate. The gate did not budge apart from a loud bang. It did not even leave a mark on it. Lu Qinin said, Qin Nan, it's obvious that Chigu's halberd is here to open the gate. There's no need to waste your energy. Qin Nan did not even look at her. He said calmly, if that's the case, I'll make my move. If the gate is telling the truth, you all have a part to play too. He transmitted his voice to Meng Jiogong, don't go in when the gate breaks. Stay behind. Qin Nan unleashed the full potential of the Battle Dao immortal manuscript in his body. His battle intent skyrocketed at a shocking pace. The halberd of Chigu in his hand buzzed. All the cultivators present could feel the long-awaited joy in it. The white flames in Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He stomped the ground and gathered the power of the heavens and earth at the tip of the halberd. With him as the center, the white light within a radius of several hundred meters started to distort. All the cultivators held their breaths and waited for the right moment to strike. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 breaths later, Qin Nan did not move, as if he was frozen in place. Qin Nan, Qin, what are you doing? There's no reason why you're here. Nie Wufeng could not help but say. As soon as his voice fell, he felt as if a peak supreme being who had been in slumber for countless years had suddenly revealed a peerless edge. The halberd's halberd struck the heaven-protecting, godly gate. Bang! A deafening blast took place in everyone's ears. The heaven-protecting godly gate emitted a blinding glow as the illusionary figure of an enormous beast without a head appeared from it. It swung its claws forward. Qin Nan's halberd shuddered. A blurry figure of an ape over 100 zhang tall in armor let out a roar and threw a few punches at the illusionary figure of the enormous beast. The illusionary figure of the enormous beast shattered into pieces in less than 2 breaths. Bang! The heaven-protecting godly gate broke into pieces. It dissipated into wisps of light. Strong gusts of wind surged in all directions. Even Nie Wufeng, Xiang Tianqi, Jiang Enai, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses were startled. They had no choice but to defend themselves with their immortal force. At this moment, the sound of some kind of chain breaking could be heard in the void. The entire vast space of white light began to distort. The halberd that had intimidated countless experts in a certain era finally lost its brilliance. It turned into dust in Qin Nan's hand. In his daze, he could faintly see a man and an ape standing side by side on a battlefield, continuously executing their move. Despite being in a dangerous situation facing countless cultivators, they burst out laughing. Qin Nan could feel his nose tingling, but he quickly withheld his emotions and flew into the godly gate. Cries of agony took place all of a sudden. Some of the cultivators were caught in the twisting force due to their carelessness. Their figures were twisted instantly without any resistance. The white space had turned into a land of death. It would be extremely difficult for outsiders to enter the place. Hurry up and enter the gate. The other cultivators were startled. They quickly flew forward. Qin Nan. When Lu Qinyin, Xiang Tianqi, the 5 rebels, and the others set foot on a new land, they immediately unleashed their divine sense and scanned the place without caring if it was dangerous. Following this, they saw Qin Nan standing in front of a giant boulder a few hundred zhang away. They could also see 2 pitch-black words written on the boulder with a great force through the corner of their eyes. Paramitha. These 2 words seemed to possess a strange power, causing their hearts to sink as they finally realized something shocking. The mysterious place did not have any hint of immortal qi, or anything else. It was replaced by a brand new aura that they had never seen before. This kind of aura was incomparably simple. If one were to carefully sense it, they would feel as if they were in the ancient times. Look at the sky! A peerless ruler of the Wengu tribe suddenly blurted out in astonishment. The rest of the cultivators raised their heads and glanced at Qin Nan. The sky was pitch black. Countless stars were flickering in the sky. However, there was one cluster of light that was 100 times brighter than the other clusters of starlight. The light emitted by those clusters of starlight enveloped the entire land. 13933. Even some of the exceptional geniuses could not help but gasp. There were exactly 33 of them. The 9 heavens immortal realm also happened to have 33 small immortal realms. Combined with the boulder, did that mean they had left the 9 heavens immortal realm and arrived at a mysterious place that no one had ever discovered? That's right, it's right here, the legendary Permitha. Feng Wuheng's eyes flickered with excitement. He was not as excited as he was when he first started the plan. The reason being. Chapter 2001. Meanwhile, the ownerless heaven pattern in Qin Nan's divine sense reacted once again. It was emitting a faint glow as it drew a map. Is it on the left? Qin Nan glanced at the map. He immediately withheld the doubts in his heart. He turned into a ray of light and soared into the sky. Qin Nan Dai. Xiang Tianqi, Meng Shanyue, the 5 rebels, and the peerless rulers of the 2 factions immediately executed a series of Dao arts. Nie Wufeng, Lu Qingyin, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers made their moves too. All kinds of attacks were unleashed. That way, Feng Wuheng and Jiang Ni collected their thoughts and followed closely behind. For some reason, the further they went, the darker their surroundings became. They could only see the 33 glowing orbs when they lifted their gaze. Everyone's eye technique was greatly suppressed at this moment. Qin Nan continued to execute the sky-stride blow to dodge the Dao art. Soon, his gaze became incomparably sharp. The cultivators behind him were already using all kinds of methods to restrict his sky-stride blow. A huge battle was unavoidable before they arrived at the destination. However, at that instant, a shocking chill rose within Qin Nan's heart, causing his body to stiffen. In addition to him, Xiang Tianqi, Nie Wufeng, Lu Qingyin, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers sensed it too. Their eyes widened. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the vast darkness in the distance, hundreds and thousands of scarlet flames suddenly appeared. They quickly condensed into 20 zhang tall giants with legs on their foreheads. Their faces were ferocious, and their murderous auras were monstrous. Those are the karmic fire demon weapons. The cultivators of the Wengu tribe exclaimed. Rumors say they are the guardians of the boundless hell. They are able to match the cultivation of their enemies. The karmic fire on them is able to burn the karmic fire. Roar. The karmic fire demon soldiers let out deafening roars. They charged at the cultivators like an ancient army. Their auras began to change according to the cultivators they were facing. Dao melting immortal flames. Qin Nan was engulfed in white flames as he merged with his saber and slashed forward. The rest of the exceptional geniuses displayed their outstanding strength too. They advanced instead of backing away. Get into formation. Team up. A series of yells took place. The peerless rulers of various factions moved and performed hand seals. Runes of formations spread across the place as their auras merged into one. The rest of the rogue cultivators gathered together and executed their moves too. Xiang Tianqi, Meng Shanyue, and the rest of the 5 rebels harumphed coldly. In their eyes, the karmic fire demon soldiers were helping Qin Nan by holding them back. Bang bang bang! The mysterious land of the other shore immediately fell into a series of explosions. Many cultivators were astounded. Every time one of the karmic fire demon weapons was killed, another one would appear. It was impossible to kill all of them. Cries of agony took place. Some cultivators were burned into ashes by the karmic fire. Qin Nan, I'm here to lend you a hand. Qin Nan turned around and saw Meng Jiugong coming from the distance. He was followed by more than 30 cultivators, including 10 peak peerless rulers. They were the disciples of the 9 Palace Golden Immortal sect. Meng Jiugong had secretly gathered them when the door was opened. I don't have to worry about his safety with these people around. Qin Nan murmured. Even if the mysterious existence was involved, Meng Jiugong and the others might not be able to handle it, but they should have no problem running away. The battle lasted for more than half an hour before Qin Nan finally came to a stop. Holy crap! Meng Jiugong stared ahead. His eyes widened. More than 1,000 tombs appeared in front of the ink-like darkness. They were scattered and floating in the air. Each tomb was emitting a different glow. The tombs closest to them were the smallest, while the tombs further away were the largest. This was especially true of the 10 tombs floating at the end of their line of sight. The first tomb on the right was like an ancient mountain that could support the heavens and earth. The karmic fire demonic soldiers they had encountered earlier were like ants in front of this great tomb. There was no way they could compare to it at all. They were as tiny as a speck of dust. Is that the eyes of Nie Wufeng, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers of the Mumen sect widened. Meng Shangyue and the 5 rebels were startled. They had just sensed the exquisite immortal lamp hiding behind the tombs. Its aura had returned to normal. They frowned. They decided to activate it after a slight hesitation. The appearance of the exquisite immortal lamp would only make the situation even more chaotic. Buzz. All of a sudden, all of the great necropolis shuddered violently, and the light flowing from them grew 10 times stronger than before. Not only that, but the last 10 largest tombs, starting from the tombs on the left, a line of large purple words appeared in the center. Master Luo's tomb. Master Yohui's tomb. Master Shank's tomb. The cultivators were astounded when they saw the words. Were these tombs the graves of the authorities in the Master Realm? However, when it came to the great tomb, the words that appeared turned into a dazzling golden light. Furthermore, there were only a few words. Zhuangchen. Zhuangchen? Isn't that the second immortal's name? Could it be? The eyes of Meng Shangyue and the cultivators of the Wengu tribe flickered with astonishment. What? That's the tomb of the second immortal? The cultivators were astounded. The 10 immortals of the ancient times were all extraordinary. Among them, the 5th immortal, the divine god of battle, was the most special. Meanwhile, the ones ranked in the top 4 were said to be experts who were only half a step away from achieving the Master Realm. Over the past few thousand years, there might be news about the other immortals, but there had never been any news about the ones ranked in the top 4. Is the thing that the pattern spirit mentioned inside here? Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat as a thought crossed his mind. At that instant, a loud voice echoed across the heavens and earth as a lamp appeared behind the tombs. It emitted a tremendous flame that transformed into an enormous golden crow that illuminated the surroundings. Chapter 2002. Tomb of the Ruler and Minister. An enormous tomb appeared between the heavens and earth. It was pitch black with a deep aura. Its surface was covered in runes, as if it was formed by the presence of the heavens and earth. The thousands of tombs, including those of the 9 masters of Tao and the second immortal, Zhuangchen, were like the difference between the heavens and earth compared to it. At this moment, all the cultivators' souls trembled. They had the misconception that they were not facing a tomb, but a boundless world. This Qin Nan, the exceptional geniuses, and the excited Feng Wuheng had no idea how to describe their feelings. The appearance of the second immortal's tomb was already shocking enough, but now there was a tomb that surpassed the second immortal's tomb. 1,000 tombs as ministers, 1 tomb as emperor. It's the legendary tomb of the ruler and minister. Nie Wufeng was lost in thought. Who exactly is it, to make the second immortal and the 9 masters of Tao submit to him willingly? As the sacred son of the Mumen sect, he clearly knew that even someone stronger than the 10 immortals would not be willing to submit to him willingly. The title of immortal clearly indicated how extraordinary the 10 immortals were. Unless it was one of the 4. Ha ha, interesting, very interesting. Feng Wuheng burst out laughing all of a sudden and said, Qin Nan, what exactly are you and the 5th immortal looking for in the tomb? Ugh, I'm being too talkative. You won't tell me even if I ask. Either way, I wish you success. It's none of my business. He placed his hands together and performed a mystical hand seal. Wisps of ancient auras burst out of his body. The aura was on par with the divine battle spirit. The second immortal's immortal seal? The eyes of Meng Shangyue and the exceptional geniuses widened. Feng Wuheng, you're the successor of the second immortal. Even though Feng Wuheng was the strongest exceptional genius of the heaven-repelling ancient sect and was quite famous in the supreme transforming realm, he was still weaker than Qin Nan and the others. He was not even considered one of the top 10 exceptional geniuses. Wind Without Trace had hidden himself too well. If it were any other time, such news would definitely shock everyone. When it spread to the outside world, it would definitely cause a greater storm than Qin Nan. However, in front of this terrifying and mysterious tomb, everything was washed away. TSK, lackeys of the primordial taboo, you've made me swallow my pride for so many years. Once I get what my master left behind, I'll slaughter all of you. Feng Wuhan let out a sinister laugh and clapped his hands. Instantly, an earth-shattering sound rang out from Zhuang Chen's tomb. Countless rays of light converged to form a huge entrance. His figure immediately flew into it. When one tomb moved, all the tombs moved. The tombs of various sizes began to emit brilliant glows and ancient auras. The whole place began to tremble vigorously. Countless doors appeared one after another. Only the terrifying and mysterious tomb was different from the rest. A series of cracking noises could be heard as a huge crack appeared at the center of the tomb, causing pieces of the walls to fall off. All the tombs are open. The cultivators were astounded. Every tomb here was extraordinary, especially the 9 tombs of the Masters of Tao and the terrifying and mysterious tomb. If they were able to find a single succession, their cultivation would soar into the sky. They would surely achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm, or even higher in the future. Qin Nan. Jiang Ni suddenly let out a roar as he soared into the sky with a sharp gaze. The true form of my past life has shown up. I have no choice but to go. Once I get it, I'll fight you no matter what you're in. His words were thunderous and imperious. Anytime. Qin Nan's eyes burned vigorously with white flames. Jiang and I turned into a ray of light and entered one of the tombs of the Masters of Tao. Let's go. Qin Nan groaned at Meng Jiogong and flew into the terrifying tomb. Everyone, listen up, you're not allowed to leave on your own. You must come with me. Xiang Tianqi yelled with a murderous intent. The peerless rulers of the Sherdao tribe responded to his order. Lu Qingyin and the exceptional geniuses gave the order too. Fellow cultivators, the second immortal has shown up. It's no joke. You will lead your men and chase after Feng Wuheng. You must kill him at all costs. Meng Shangyue quickly transmitted his voice to the other 4 rebels. I'll chase after Qin Nan. I won't let them get away with it. We can reel in the net when the time comes. Meanwhile, Nie Wufeng transmitted his thoughts. The tombs of the emperors and their ministers must have a way to reach the emperor's tomb. Many cultivators are heading to the tomb. There's no need for us to get involved. Let's find the emperor's tomb first. Even though the Mumin sect wanted to apprehend Qin Nan and force him to reveal all the secrets, they had no choice but to set that aside in the face of such a terrifying tomb. If they could secure the tomb, the benefits it would bring them were unimaginable. In less than a breath's time, the tombs flickered while the heavens and earth shook vigorously. Countless cultivators turned into rays of light flying in different directions, resulting in a great chaos. That being said, in the midst of the chaos, most of the people headed toward the mysterious tomb under the lead of Qin Nan, Meng Jiogong, and the others. They were like a long dragon. A few moments later, Qin Nan dodged the Tao arts coming at him from behind. He was only a few dozen zhang away from the gap. The gap was not huge from afar, but when he took a closer look, he realized the gap was like a ravine with glowing stars inside. It was impossible to see what was inside. Hee Qin Nan, I have a feeling that once I enter this place, I will surely find the succession, Meng Jiugong blurted out in excitement. Qin Nan rolled his eyes and flew straight into the light. However, as soon as he entered the light, his expression changed tremendously. The cultivators of the Nine Palace Golden Immortal sect standing beside Meng Jiugong immediately wore a cold expression. Their eyes were twisted and pitch-black. Devour the heavens and earth! The cultivators uttered a roar. Their bodies scattered and turned into an enormous black hole with countless black tentacles reaching out from it. They wrapped around Meng Jiugong and pulled him backward. K-me. Meng Jiugong was startled, yet he could not resist it with his cultivation. How dare you! Qin Nan unleashed his aura in an attempt to break free from the invisible force of the light. Qin Nan, don't come any closer, you won't be able to stop it. Meng Jiugong let out a roar. His figure was swiftly dragged into the black hole. The black hole began to shrink rapidly. A brilliant red glow burst out from the black hole and struck Qin Nan. Chapter 2003. Qin Nan's aura underwent a tremendous change. Meng Jiugong fully activated his flesh of good luck and executed a forbidden art to strengthen Qin Nan's luck as soon as he was devoured by Qin Nan. Jiugong. Qin Nan's expression darkened. He had placed all his attention on the tomb, which was why the cultivators were able to get their hands on it. He had been too careless. Qin Nan took a deep breath when he saw Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinyin, Meng Shangyue, and the rest of the cultivators flying toward him. He forcibly withheld his emotions and flew into the barrier. When Qin Nan landed on the ground, his heart skipped a beat when he saw the sight before him. In addition to him, Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinyin, Meng Shangyue, and the others reacted the same way too. In front of them was a spacious battlefield. Broken skeletons of various sizes were lying on the ground. They still had a strange aura despite the passage of time. Even Qin Nan's figure tensed subconsciously. On top of it, almost every skeleton had a strange plant growing beside it. The plants were emitting different glows as they danced in the wind. They contained a shocking amount of pure immortal force. Each of the plants was an immortal blessing. How can there be so many immortal blessing-grade treasures? The cultivators who came later were astounded. They could not believe their eyes. It was already extremely difficult to find a single immortal blessing, but there were thousands of them here. The eyes of the cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits flickered with excitement. Even Lu Qingyin's eyes flickered with excitement. If they could nurture and communicate with the immortal blessing resources and borrow their power, it would bring them great benefits. In addition to it, their tribe's secret art could also borrow the power of the immortal blessing resources to set up all kinds of deadly formations. Bang! Right at this moment, a shocking explosion resounded. At the end of everyone's line of sight, two lifelike, ancient, and murderous statues that were over 10,000 zhang tall floated up from the ground. At the center of the statues was a mottled bluestone platform in the shape of a lotus. At the center was an ordinary-looking nine-dragon seal that did not emit any aura. At the bottom of the platform was a line of blood-red words with a menacing aura. Those who take the seal will suffer the Tao tribulation. The ownerless heaven pattern in Qin Nan's divine sense buzzed. The pattern spirit's weak and hoarse voice said, "Master, this is the seal. You must take it, capture her." Qin Nan collected his thoughts. The white flames in his eyes burned fiercely as he dashed toward the two statues like an arrow let loose from a bow. Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinyin, and the rest of the cultivators too. The seal was what Qin Nan and the fifth immortal were after. People of the tribe of immortal spirits, listen up, activate your flesh of immortal spirits and set up a spiritual concealing formation to cover up the immortal blessing resources. Lu Qinyin immediately transmitted her voice. Before she could finish, Qin Nan performed a mystical hand seal with both hands. It fired thousands of rays into the immortal blessing resources. The heavenly materials and earthly treasures began to vibrate. They unleashed shocking auras and soared into the sky like immortal weapons that had been sealed for many years. What's going on? Xiang Tianqi was startled by the sight before him. He yelled at Lu Qingyin. Lu Qingyin's eyes widened. Could that be the legendary primary spiritual seal? The exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers of the tribe of immortal spirits were astounded. The shock they received from the primary spiritual seal was comparable to when they saw Zhuang Chen's tomb. The primary spiritual seal was once the most precious artifact of the tribe of immortal spirit. Only the tribe leader was allowed to practice it. However, there was a time when someone stole the primary spiritual seal and destroyed the stone of succession. Even the previous tribe leader and the previous tribe leader died in a battle while they were chasing after the culprit. None of the tribe leaders had managed to practice the primary spiritual seal for many years. It was a great regret and scar in the hearts of the people of the tribe of immortal spirits. And now it had appeared in Qin Nan's hands. How did Qin Nan learn the seal? Could it be that the culprit was the fifth immortal, the divine god of battle? Bang bang bang! Under the imperious power of the primary spiritual seal, the immortal blessing resources stirred up the heavens and earth nearby and unleashed a formidable force at Xiang Tianqi and the others. Even though they did not possess intelligence, nor were they able to execute Dao arts, they were still extremely terrifying. They were like a raging sea of calamity. Lu Qingyin, what are you waiting for? Let's attack together and take them out. Xiang Tianqi, Meng Shangyue, and the people of the other factions had blue veins popping out on their foreheads. They let out a roar and executed a series of Dao arts. Lu Qingyin finally collected her thoughts. She clenched her teeth and transmitted her voice. Let's attack together. After that, no matter the cost, we will take the primary spiritual seal back from him, and kill him. She had always wanted to suppress Qin Nan, but if Qin Nan really had the primary spiritual seal, he would become the enemy of the tribe of immortal spirits. A shocking battle took place. Deafening explosions took place every second. As for Qin Nan, he soon arrived at a spot 100 zhang away from the two statues and landed on the ground as if he had entered a deserted land. Even though the crisis had been temporarily resolved, his current expression was still incomparably grave. This was because he had a strong intuition that these two statues were extremely terrifying, murderous, intense. Qin Nan summoned the flower of eternity. It floated beside him. He took out the jade jar and slowly walked forward. When he took the 10th step, the eyes of the two giant statues suddenly emitted a tremendous glow. A terrifying aura rose from their bodies and rose rapidly. Peerless ruler. Peak peerless ruler. 9 heavens supreme. Peak 9 heavens supreme. Chapter 2004. Demonic Qi reappears. How are the two statues so terrifying? Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qingyin, Meng Shangyue, and the rest of the cultivators were dumbfounded. Those who had only mastered the 4 extremities but had yet to achieve the Dao realm groaned as blood leaked out from their lip. Qin Nan, who was standing in front of the statues, was under the greatest pressure. It felt like he was carrying an ancient mountain on his back. He was struggling to even unleash his immortal force. Those who trespass on the sacred ground shall die. The two statues uttered thunderously. A great force surged across the battlefield. The broken corpses rose to their feet and unleashed shocking auras. They turned into a tide of corpses charging at Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qingyin, Meng Shangyue, and the rest of the cultivators. F******K. Xiang Tianqi's face darkened. Whoosh! The two statues made their moves. They went up to Qin Nan at an indescribable speed. Their arms emitted a magnificent immortal glow as if they were carrying the power of the world as they threw a punch at Qin Nan. A great sense of danger exploded in Qin Nan's heart. Qin Nan opened the jade jar without any hesitation. Bang! A monstrous bloody glow instantly penetrated the entire sky of the ancient battlefield, causing countless streams of aura to descend from the sky. Everything in the surroundings was dyed in the color of blood. What's going on? Xiang Tianqi and the rest of the cultivators noticed an ancient aura blocking their divine sense and eye technique. They were unable to see or sense what was happening ahead. The fifth immortal did have some tricks up his sleeves. Meng Shangyue wore a dark expression. He could easily tell that Qin Nan had no chance against the two statues with his cultivation. Only the fifth immortal was capable of doing so. In front of Qin Nan, under the boundless crimson glow, it was as if the giant fists of the two statues had landed on a starry sky, unable to move any further. The fists were only 2 zhang away from Qin Nan. Die. The eyes of the two statues were filled with raging flames as if they had received some kind of stimulation. The force inside their bodies became even more shocking, reaching a level that completely exceeded Qin Nan's expectations. Whoosh! At that moment, more than half of the drop of blood vanished, and a majestic figure appeared. It was filled with a domineering aura that looked down upon the great Tao with disdain. All cultivators and powers in the heavens and earth paled in comparison to it. Bang bang bang! A great battle took place. Qin Nan could no longer see any figures or statues. He could only feel the boundless land turning into nothing and the stars shattering into dust. The rules of the great Tao to collapse were completely destroyed. Time gradually passed. Qin Nan had no idea how much time had passed, but the terrifying aura slowly dissipated. Everything returned to normal, as the scenery slowly returned to normal. The remaining bit of blood sank into the jade bottle on its own. The jade stopper sealed itself, and the color of blood in the surroundings slowly dissipated. In front of him, there were only a few hundred huge cracks on the ground, but it was not destroyed. The two statues lost all their brilliance and fell to the ground, no longer emitting any pressure. Qin Nan was startled. He did not expect the outcome of such a terrifying battle to be worse than a battle between two peerless rulers in the early stage. Hang on, the level of the battle must have surpassed the ancient battlefield, or even the land of the other shore. They must have reached a different level. Qin Nan murmured. He calmed his thoughts and flew up to the boulder. He grabbed it with his left hand and placed his right hand on the jade stopper, ready to pull it out at any time. He had failed to claim the seal in his past life, thus he did not dare to be reckless. As he thought, when his hand was about to touch the seal, a few 100,000 black runes spread out from the boulder. Roar! The heavens and earth shook vigorously following the roar. The surroundings instantly turned into a demonic realm. A terrifying demonic creature over 1,000,000 zhang tall appeared from the illusionary realm. Its blood-red eyes were like a pair of godly mountains staring down at Qin Nan. Qin Nan was startled. He tried to pull the jade stopper out, but the jade stopper was already covered in demonic runes. He could not pull it out no matter what he tried. The terrifying demon did not waste any time. It opened its bloody mouth and tried to devour Qin Nan. Qin Nan felt like he had fallen into an icy cellar. Countless thoughts crossed his mind. The ownerless heaven pattern in his divine sense glowed, as if it was aware of the danger. It seemed like it was going to intervene on Qin Nan's behalf. Meanwhile, Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. A wisp of ancient demonic aura burst out of his heart and took the shape of a snake. It opened its mouth and let out a roar. It was as if an ant was attacking a godly mountain. However, a shocking sight took place. The bloody mouth suddenly stopped above Qin Nan. It let out a humming sound before disappearing into thin air. Everything in the surroundings returned to normal, as if nothing had happened at all. The demonic aura is still here? Why was the demon so scared of it? Qin Nan was confused. Was it something his past life had left too? Why didn't the ownerless heaven pattern mention it? Qin Nan soon shook his head. It was too complicated. As a safety precaution, Qin Nan opened the wooden stopper. A strong aura surged in all directions as he grabbed the seal with his hand. A cold feeling passed through his palm and spread throughout his entire body, causing a layer of white frost to form on his body. Following this, it felt like countless ice needles had penetrated his soul, ignoring the existence of his flesh. Qin Nan immediately took a deep breath as his face turned pale. On top of that, the indescribable pain continued to spread throughout his body, with no sign of stopping. Even with Qin Nan's firm will, his body could not help but tremble as cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. Qin Nan suddenly felt the immortal force in his body, and his flesh going numb all of a sudden. The pain disappeared, yet he was unable to raise his arm with his immortal force no matter how hard he tried. Have my flesh and everything else been sealed off? The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. He soon saw the 9 dragons' seal turning into runes floating deep into his soul. It must be because the seal is trying to claim its master. Upon having this thought, Qin Nan was about to let his guard down when he suddenly sensed that the words, "Those who try to pick up the seal will face the Tao tribulation," turned into a crimson glow and entered his body, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 2005. Outstanding Cultivators. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like the words were different from the words on the door. They were not just a bluff. However, on second thought, it did make sense. It was something that even his past life wanted. It would be unusual if he could get his hands on it so easily. I wonder what the Tao tribulation is like. Is it a tribulation from the great Tao? Forget it, I still have a drop of blood left. It should be enough to fend it off. Qin Nan murmured. He scanned the area ahead with his divine sense. The light of countless Tao arts flickered on the spacious battlefield. Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinin, Meng Shangyue, and the rest of the cultivators were hindered by the immortal blessing resources and the corpses. Qin Nan was relieved. It seemed like they would not be able to reach him before he claimed the seal. He would not be in any danger. Look, Qin Nan isn't moving. He has claimed the seal. He's refining it. His body and immortal force have been sealed off by an invisible force. It must be the seal's power. Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinin, Meng Shangyue, and the rest of the cultivators soon noticed Qin Nan's condition. Those who had achieved the perfection stage of the otherworldly demon realm were displeased when they saw Qin Nan's condition. Xiang Tianqi even burst out cursing. Lu Qinin frowned as she tried to come up with a plan. Meng Shangyue wore a dark expression too. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. Time gradually passed. Around the period it took half an incense stick to burn, outside the terrifying tomb, a brilliant light suddenly soared into the sky from one of the tombs of the 9 Masters of Tao. A terrifying aura surged in all directions like a storm. The cultivators were startled. They lifted their gaze and saw Jiang and I floating in the light. He sat with his legs crossed with a calm expression. Wisps of energy beyond what anyone could imagine entered his body. Countless ancient swords of various colors appeared behind him. They were densely packed like a supreme sword net. The sword chi was like waves that could cut through everything in the world. Jiang Yanai has obtained his previous incarnation and is merging them into one. Countless cultivators were filled with astonishment. Once he successfully merged with the Dharma body, Jiang Ni's cultivation base would reach a terrifying and unimaginable level. There seemed to be some kind of destiny in the unseen world. When Jiang and I broke the rock and shocked the heavens, everything was thoroughly ignited. 1. The sky above the tombs began to tremble violently as dragon-shaped tempests appeared. Then, 5 figures flew out from the tombs, their auras surging wildly. The storm was known as the Supreme Draconic Wind. The 9 Heavens Supreme Realm would only appear when the cultivators were on the verge of achieving the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm after obtaining the fortunate encounter they had. In other words, the 5 peerless rulers had ushered in a brand new path of cultivation amidst the countless battles and bloodshed. Normally, it would be a huge deal when 5 cultivators were about to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm, but it was not particularly eye-catching now. The reason being that 3 tombs of the Master of Tao were emitting shocking auras. The walls of one of the tombs cracked open, revealing a sea of immortal flowers. A glamorous woman stood in the middle of it. The chanting of Buddhas echoed in the ears of the cultivators on the other side of the altar. Countless battle drums were being beaten at the same time from the third altar, resulting in a deafening roar, as if an army of thousands of men and horses were about to charge out. The strongest core disciple of the superfluous lifeless sect, Su Nu, Xiaohua of the Rogue Immortal Hall, and the strongest core disciple of the Extreme Living Gate, Su Li, had all received the successions left behind by the Masters of Tao. Meanwhile, the flames of the golden crow that the exquisite immortal lamp had transformed into grew rapidly. The cultivators who were competing for the exquisite immortal lamp were dumbfounded. A nameless cultivator in the early stage of the peerless ruler realm was able to ignore the flames and claim the exquisite immortal lamp as its master. The 2 of them had merged into one. Tao of the Great Tombs, return to the void. A series of roars took place simultaneously. The disciples of the Mumen sect that had vanished into thin air appeared above the tombs and sat with their legs crossed. Nie Wufeng's figure had actually appeared beside the mysterious and terrifying screen without the slightest sign. Their auras were connected to the great necropolis, causing their immortal power to rise with shocking speed. Their energy surged to a point that surpassed anything that any cultivator could possibly imagine. Nie Wufeng's plan was a success. He had refined the tomb of the core official, and with the help of the other disciples of the Mumen sect, he was able to control the great tombs apart from the terrifying great tombs and Zhuang Chen's tomb. Nie Wufeng's eyes widened as his heart skipped a beat. He was in disbelief. Bang! In the next moment, an earth-shattering explosion rang out. Zhuang Chen's tomb, which had shocked countless cultivators, actually exploded into countless specks of light that swept across a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. A series of cries of agony could be heard as the bodies of cultivators made of bones were penetrated by the spears. They were pinned to the ground and struggled vigorously, as if they were suffering a fate worse than death. Ha ha! A bunch of trash under the ancient taboo dares to oppose me? A burst of laughter echoed across the place. Feng Wuheng was holding one of the exceptional geniuses of the 5 rebels in each hand as he walked out from the light dots. His long hair drifted in the wind with a disdainful look in his eyes. He was topless, but there were 8 faces with vague facial features on his chest. Behind him floated a total of 9 balls of light of the same size and different colors. They were constantly twisting and rotating, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. They were the unique auras of the flesh of Devour, the flesh of Good Luck, the flesh of Reincarnation, the flesh of Yin and Yang, among the 10 ancient fleshes, apart from the impenetrable sacred flesh. This, 9 fleshes. How does he have 9 fleshes? The cultivators were dumbfounded. They could not describe the astonishment in their hearts. If a person had all 9 physiques, how terrifying would that person's battle prowess, cultivation, and so on be? Most importantly, Feng Wuheng was the successor of the second immortal. Now that the tomb was destroyed, it was likely that he had obtained the second immortal's succession. Meanwhile, in the terrifying tomb, Meng Shanyue's eyes widened when he received the news. His face was filled with astonishment. Even with his outstanding intelligence, it took him quite some time to collect his thoughts. Well done, this is great. Feng Wuheng, Qin Nan, Nie Wufeng, Su Nu, none of you have disappointed the master. If that's the case, you can all die. Chapter 2006. The ancient taboo's handiwork. Feng Wuheng's imperious aura soared into the sky and shocked the crowd. Blue veins surfaced on his fingers as he clenched his fist. The 2 rebels let out cries of agony as they were strangled to death. So this is what true strength looks like. Feng Wuheng was overjoyed. He glanced at the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers who were stirring a great chaos. He was not interested in them at all. He quickly shifted his gaze away and looked at the terrifying tomb. His eyes seemed to possess an incredible power. They penetrated the walls of the tomb and the ancient battlefield, allowing him to see Qin Nan. Ha ha! Both my body and immortal force are sealed off? The heavens are on my side, the heavens are on my side. Qin Nan, with your blood essence, I can defy the rules and merge the 9 fleshes to become unbeatable. Feng Wuheng burst out laughing in his heart. Little did the crowd know, the coexistence of the 9 fleshes was not scary, but merging them into one was. However, only the blood essence of the 5th immortal, the divine god of battle, was able to merge the 9 fleshes into one, as the divine god of battle was the most unique. Even though the divine god of battle had fallen, and Qin Nan was only his successor, Qin Nan had the divine battle spirit. His body must have been altered by the divine god of battle. Qin Nan's blood could do the same. Bang bang bang! Meanwhile, 3 powerful auras sprang into the sky from a distance away from the tomb of the emperor and minister. 3 magnificent auras surged toward the place like an ocean, causing the figures of the cultivators to shudder. Isn't that the auras of 9 heavens supremes? The eyes of the cultivators widened to the size of needles as they trembled vigorously. It was not strange for the auras of 9 heavens supremes to appear in the sacred areas of the heavens and earth, as some cultivators could choose to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm in the sacred areas. They could even stay for a few moments after achieving the 9 heavens supreme realm. However, only those in the greater success stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm had the auras of 3 9 heavens supremes. Everyone knew that cultivators above the peerless ruler realm were not allowed to enter the sacred areas of the heavens and earth, especially the first-ranked death zone. It was even scarier than the other sacred areas. Why would a 9 heavens supreme in the greater success stage show up? Heaven, earth, human, 3 corpses returned to their positions. Meng Shanyue's figure flew out from the terrifying tomb. He uttered a roar and performed a mysterious hand seal. Following it, 3 shocking blasts took place, shattering the rift into pieces. Following this, 3 Tenjong-tall existences with their figures wrapped in countless shrouds appeared. Only a pair of crimson eyes could be seen. Each of their foreheads had a huge word written with a murderous aura. Heaven, earth, and man. Ancient taboo? Is it the ancient taboo? Nie Wufeng, Su Nu, and the rest of the cultivators felt a great chill running down their spines. It was obvious what the ancient taboo was implying. The smile on Feng Wuheng's face slowly withdrew too. It seems like you aren't a bunch of trash after all. Meng Shanyue let out a twisted grin. He glanced down at the crowd and said, "Isn't it great after obtaining the successions? Now, it's time for you to enjoy it even more." His figure instantly turned into wisps of black light that flew into the heaven, earth, and human corpses. Roar! The wind and clouds changed rapidly as the heavens and earth shook vigorously. The heaven corpse stepped into the air and headed straight for Feng Wuheng. Every stomp it made would summon wind, fire, and lightning, as if it was formed by the heavens to punish all sins on behalf of the heavens. Meanwhile, the earth corpse drew out 2 demonic blood sabers from the void and slashed at Nie Wufeng, Su Nu, Jiang and I, and the others with overwhelming saber intents. The human corpse unleashed its aura and turned into a ray of light that charged into the terrifying tomb. The cultivators were startled. Their faces turned pale. They immediately fled for their lives, unwilling to be dragged into the mess. The 5 cultivators who had obtained the 9 heavens supreme realm no longer dared to resist the summoning force. They left the death zone to undergo the tribulation. Only Li Bei was still sitting inside the enormous golden crow with his legs crossed. The tomb of emperors and ministers was in a great mess. Meanwhile, in the terrifying tomb, Lu Qinin was discussing a plan with Xiang Tianqi after Meng Shanhua left. All of a sudden, their expressions changed drastically. Chills ran down their spines as their bodies instinctively moved to the sides. Whoosh! The human corpse charged at Qin Nan at a shocking pace. A nine heavens supreme? What's going on? Qin Nan's divine sense shuddered vigorously. Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinin, and the others were stunned. Bang, bang, bang! The human corpse unleashed a terrifying power. It executed a series of Dao arts to shatter the immortal blessing resources and corpses into pieces. In just a short period of time, they had cleared a path. It would not take long for them to reach Qin Nan. It's one of the legendary three corpses of heaven, earth, and man, the human corpse. Only the ancient taboo has such an ability. A peerless ruler of the Wengu tribe exclaimed. Ha ha, very well. Xiang Tianqi burst out laughing. The human corpse in the greater success stage of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm was attacking, and Qin Nan was unable to move or use his immortal force. Qin Nan was surely going to die. Such a pity. If I didn't defeat you, I wouldn't have been able to retrieve the primary spiritual seal. Lu Qinin tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. She was having a complicated feeling. Qin Nan sensed the human corpse approaching with his divine sense. The sense of danger grew stronger too. The flower of eternity won't be able to resist the attack of a Nine Heavens Supreme in the greater success stage. However, I'm sealed off too. I can't use the remaining blood in my body. What should I do now? Countless thoughts flashed across Qin Nan's mind, causing his will to skyrocket. He was either trying to speed up the process of merging with the seal, or to regain his freedom. However, this was of no use. The countless runes formed by the stone seal were still slowly flowing into his soul. His body was also in a numb state. Bang! The final corpse was blasted into pieces by a single punch. The corpse's aura shattered the ground within 10,000 li. Thousands of terrifying auras descended from the sky and accumulated on the tip of its fist as it hurled it in Qin Nan's direction. Does that mean I have no choice but to activate the seal? Qin Nan immediately made up his mind when he sensed the terrifying aura, which felt like a bottomless abyss. Illusionary Dao formation. Chapter 2007. Becoming a Supreme with a Thought Bang. The formation instantly shattered into light. However, the human corpse in the greater success stage of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm was knocked a few hundred steps back by a strong force before he could regain his footing. Three Emperors formation. Three figures came across the sky and landed in front of Qin Nan. They were holding a sword, a saber, and a hammer respectively. They formed a mystical formation and unleashed a magnificent aura. Qiu Hong. Qin Nan was astounded. The people of the heaven-slaying sect? Xiang Tianqi, Lu Qinin, and the rest of the cultivators were startled too. It turned out that Qiu Hong and the others had come not long after Qin Nan entered the first heaven and earth under the Beast Hide Drawings order. They had been hiding close to the immortal slaying river until Qin Nan showed up. They had been tailing him since he entered the land of the other world. However, they were keeping a low profile by concealing their auras. No one was aware of them. As for the illusionary Dao formation and the three sacred formation that they were setting up, they were taught by the Beast Hide drawing. They were meant to protect Qin Nan when the situation called for it. The human corpse was infuriated. He let out a roar and charged at Qin Nan again. Meanwhile, outside the terrifying tomb, Feng Wuheng was fighting a great battle against the Heaven Corpse with the help of the second immortal. Meanwhile, Jiang Ni, Nie Wufeng, Su Nu, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses were teaming up to take on the Earth Corpse with their trump cards. It was quite an astonishing sight. The sky that was shaking vigorously suddenly turned into countless lightning bolts. It felt like an ocean of lightning had descended upon the world and lit up everything. Following it, a deafening blast took place. A magnificent mountain suddenly appeared above the terrifying tomb. It was 99,999 zhang tall and emitted a brilliant glow. A faint aura surged across the place too. The sky has turned into an ocean. 99,999 zhang tall, it's the supreme mountain. The person who claimed the exquisite immortal lamp is going to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm here. The cultivators were astounded. They were mainly shocked by Li Bei's actions. Now that the ancient taboo had displayed such a terrifying ability, if it was interrupted in the middle of its breakthrough, all their efforts would be in vain. You must be extraordinary to be able to obtain the exquisite immortal lamp, yet you're still trying to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm? Watch me destroy you. The Sky Corpse's eyes were filled with killing intent. However, before he could make his move, Li Bei's figure flickered and landed on the peak of the supreme mountain. His cultivation skyrocketed. The greater success stage of the Peerless Ruler Realm. The peak Peerless Ruler Realm. However, it did not end there. Countless rare phenomena took place in his eyes. The cries of dragons echoed in the surroundings. Countless enormous golden dragons with mystical auras appeared out of nowhere and entered Li Bei's body as if countless doors had been opened. His flesh immediately underwent a tremendous change. Wisps of formidable auras of the 9 heavens supreme realm burst out of his body. How did he reach the peak of the supreme mountain with just a single step? Countless cultivators couldn't believe their eyes. Once the supreme mountain was activated, the cultivators would have to start at the foot of the mountain and climb to the peak. Every step they took would trigger a tribulation of the heavens and earth to stop them. Besides, why were the auras of the man in the greater success stage and the perfect stage of the Peerless Ruler Realm? That being said, most of them were unaware that Li Bei was only in the early stage of the Peerless Ruler Realm. Otherwise, they would not be feeling the same way. However, it was still not over yet. The great Tao of the heavens and earth began to boil like boiling water. The chants of countless immortals and demons echoed in everyone's ears. Countless transparent crystal fragments poured down from the sky like a river and entered Li Bei's body, causing him to emit a shocking glow. Ha ha ha, supreme with a single thought, Tao with a single thought. The ancient taboo put in so much effort to get the exquisite immortal lamp, yet a cultivator managed to alter his destiny and achieve the Peerless Ruler Realm. How amusing, how amusing! Feng Wuheng burst out laughing. Blue veins popped out on the Heaven Corpse's forehead. However, it had no chance of stopping Li Bei from evolving after 1,000 years of silence. Meanwhile, inside the terrifying tomb, even though the capabilities of the beast hide drawing were utterly unbelievable, Qiu Hong and his crew had only improved their cultivation to the peak Peerless Ruler Realm after using some secret technique. The difference between them and the human corpse was just too huge. A few moments later, the 3 Emperors' formation and the rare artifacts were shattered into pieces. Run, you won't stand a chance against it. Qin Nan yelled with his divine sense. Qiu Hong and the other 2 were indifferent. Facing the insufferably arrogant human corpse, they charged forward fearlessly. In the next instant, their bodies were torn into pieces. Qin Nan's divine sense shuddered. However, the countless fragments quickly gathered together again. It was just that their speed was extremely slow. The beast hide drawing had put in a lot of effort to refine them. It went without saying that they would not be killed so easily. However, no one was able to stop the human corpse. Hee, so what if the heaven-slaying sect is here to help? Xiang Tianqi's eyes flickered with disdain. The human corpse accumulated its strength and shook the heavens and earth. In the nick of time, apart from Qin Nan's luck, the luck that Meng Jiugong had given him was working too. A tremendous sword glow slashed at the human corpse at a shocking pace. The human corpse threw a punch backward. The fist and the sword collided, resulting in a strong gust of wind. It was knocked back once again. Who's there this time? Xiang Tianqi was startled. A figure appeared out of nowhere with an ancient sword in his hand. His aura in the early stage of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm made the cultivators tremble in fear. Li Bei? You've become a Nine Heavens Supreme? Qin Nan was startled. Li Bei looked at Qin Nan and said, I've gone into seclusion for 1,000 years. I've seen all kinds of exceptional geniuses, yet I've never met an extraordinary one. Besides, you did me a favor in the past. Now that I've become a Nine Heavens Supreme, I'll make an exception for you. I'll use my blue sword to shatter this evil thing. As soon as he finished the sentence, his figure suddenly appeared above the corpse. Boundless sword intense appeared out of thin air and surged toward the corpse like an immortal river. The human corpse fought back with all its might. Chapter 2008. Taking the stone seal. Not only was the human corpse a Nine Heavens Supreme in the greater success stage, it had also merged with Meng Shanyue's consciousness. It was not afraid of pain, nor was it afraid of danger. Its strength was utterly terrifying. Unfortunately, its opponent was Li Bei. Li Bei was similar to Qin Nan. Not only did he have an extraordinary path of cultivation that surpassed common sense, he had also accumulated a lot of knowledge in the past. His strength was utterly terrifying after achieving the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm with a single thought. 10 breaths later, the human corpse was knocked back. Its body was covered in wounds. 30 breaths later, the human corpse was covered in blood. Its aura had weakened significantly. It no longer had its imperious aura. Everything in the mundane world is complicated. I come alone, I leave alone. My eyes are hollow, my sword is pointed at me, I have no thoughts, I have no desires. Li Bei unleashed his great Tao. The sword glow he emitted lit up the entire battlefield. The cultivators felt like they had arrived in an illusionary world. Following it, they returned to the battlefield. The sword glow vanished. The human corpse's head was separated from its body. Black blood splattered everywhere. The human talisman on its forehead burst into flames and turned into ashes. Qin Nan, it's over between us. If fate allows it, let's meet again in the void heaven realm. Li Bei withdrew the blue sword. He turned into a ray of light and flew to the edge of the battlefield before vanishing into thin air. Thanks. Qin Nan murmured in his heart. It was over. He believed he owed Li Bei a huge favor. Damn it! Xiang Tianqi's expression darkened. He snapped, Lu Qingyin, Qin Nan is still sealed away. We'll do as we agreed. I'll kill Qin Nan. Lu Qingyin nodded with a stern look. She immediately gave the order. Following it, the geniuses and cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits, and the cultivators of the other factions executed their moves to eliminate the immortal blessing resources and corpses that the human corpse had cleared out previously. Xiang Tianqi unleashed the Sherdao flesh. His aura skyrocketed as he led the 3 exceptional geniuses of the Sherdao tribe and 7 peak, peerless rulers forward like a giant saber. The others of the Sherdao tribe set up formations to clear a path for them. Qin Nan scanned the injuries of Qiu Hong and the other 2 before using his divine perception to scan Xiang Tianqi and the others. Until now, more than half of the 9 dragon seal had been absorbed, and there was only a small portion left. With the flower of eternity floating around him, there shouldn't be any problems. Meanwhile, outside the terrifying tomb, the heaven corpses and earth corpses' auras dropped rapidly after the human corpses died. They were only in the early stage of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm. Meng Shanyue was infuriated. However, no matter how angry it was useless. Feng Wuhan summoned the arm bone of the second immortal, Zhuangqin. Using the bone as a sword, he slashed out peerless sword qi. The special abilities of the 9 great physiques were unleashed one after another. Nie Wufeng rose with the power of the tomb, while Jiang Anai and Su Nu helped him from the side. They set up a deadly formation around the earth corpses. Time gradually passed. After some time, the heaven corpses slammed heavily onto the ground. Their auras dropped to the bottom. "I can't accept this." Meng Shangyue let out a furious roar before he was slashed into pieces by a piece of bone. The earth corpses' auras dropped by half again. "Damn it, that piece of trash ancient taboo only knows how to waste my time. I wonder what's going on in the tomb. I have to go there at once." Feng Wuhan harumphed. He turned into a ray of light and soared into the sky. "Fellow cultivators, I'll leave the earth corpses to you. Everyone, listen up, enter the tomb." Seeing this, Nie Wufeng yelled and transmitted his divine sense. At the same time, he flew toward the terrifying screen with a fanatical look in his eyes. He had learned a piece of news after obtaining the Emperor's tomb and the Emperor's tomb. There was a seal in the shape of 9 dragons in the Emperor's tomb. It would bring great benefits to anyone who obtained it. They would surely become an authority in the Master Realm in the future. "Qin Nan, you and the 5th Immortal must have set up a trap for the seal too. If you get it, don't blame me for killing you." Nie Wufeng's eyes flickered with an icy murderous intent. The Mumen sect had always wanted to suppress Qin Nan and use Qin Nan to achieve many things. However, the temptation of the 9 dragons seal was just too great. He was willing to disobey the orders of the clan. The earth corpses were soon slain. Su Nu came out from the tomb of the Master of Tao. She summoned the disciples of the superfluous lifeless sect and went straight to the terrifying tomb. Jiang Yanai sat down with his legs crossed and closed his eyes. He had yet to merge with the flesh of his past life. Once he was done, he would surely enter the tomb with his sword. Meanwhile, inside the terrifying tomb, when Feng Wuheng, Nie Wufeng, and the rest of the cultivators of the Mumen sect entered the tomb, Xiang Tianqi led 10 people and crushed a few dozen corpses at the back. Qiu Hong and the other 2 had already recovered half of their strength. Seeing this, they struggled to get up, only to hear 3 piercing sounds as 3 long swords pierced through their bodies, nailing them to the ground. "Qin Nan, die!" Xiang Tianqi let out a roar. His hair drifted wildly in the wind as he took out a halberd from the rift. It was a broken Dao-seeking weapon. The other 3 exceptional geniuses and peak peerless rulers performed hand seals. The power of the Sherdao flesh surged into Xiang Tianqi's body. Xiang Tianqi's aura skyrocketed once again. He swung the halberd and left thousands of afterimages behind. The halberd eventually merged into one and stabbed at Qin Nan with a blinding glow. The art of destruction. Meanwhile, Lu Qingyin executed the art of the little heaven and earth to move the flower of eternity beside Qin Nan 10,000 zhang away. It was as if time had frozen. Qin Nan's eyes stared at the shocking sharpness that was getting closer and closer to him. His eyes, which seemed to be coated with a layer of dust, suddenly flashed with a white flame. When it was 10 zhang away, the glow turned into a wisp of flame. When it was 5 zhang away, the wisp turned into a cluster. When it was 2 zhang away, the white flames burned vigorously. The immortal eyes of the divine god of battle. The remaining runes of the 9 dragons seal suddenly sped up and entered Qin Nan's body. A tremendous aura burst out from the ground. "You're not strong enough to kill me." The divine battle spirit and the Lord of all worlds appeared behind Qin Nan. They merged into one and unleashed a tremendous aura. He fully unleashed the immortal force in his body. The will of the 2 arts of Tao seeking merged with the heaven-shattering saber. Chapter 2009. Destiny-strong gusts of wind surged in all directions. Xiang Tianqi felt a rebounding force and was forced to retreat dozens of steps. "Qin Nan, it's not easy to kill you, yet you managed to regain your freedom at the last moment." Even though Xiang Tianqi was displeased, the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. "That's fine too, it's more interesting to kill you." Following it, he performed a hand seal with a single hand, emitting a Dao glow. Meanwhile, Feng Wuheng, Nie Wufeng, Lu Qingyin, and the others came from the front. Their divine sense was locked onto Qin Nan. It was obvious what they were implying. Qin Nan summoned the Flower of Eternity back to him with a thought. Now that he had obtained the 9 Dragons seal, he was ready to make his move without any hesitation. A shocking, unexpected change took place all of a sudden. The whole battlefield began to tremble vigorously. Countless ancient auras appeared out of nowhere and filled every inch of the rift. The remaining immortal blessing resources and corpses dimmed and fell to the ground. They were utterly powerless. Is that? Qin Nan lifted his gaze with a startled expression. He saw cracks appearing on the walls of the enormous ancient tomb. They were expanding at a shocking pace. The tomb is about to collapse. Lu Qinin was startled. Nie Wufeng instantly came to a realization. The reason why the tomb had collapsed was most likely because Qin Nan had obtained the seal, causing the tomb to lose its support. Feng Wuheng cursed. He had no choice but to back away quickly. The tomb was simply too terrifying. Once it collapsed, even peak 9 Heavens Supremes would struggle to survive it, let alone peerless rulers like them. However, the eyes of Qin Nan, Feng Wuheng, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses widened. They sensed that the rate at which the tomb was collapsing had increased by over 10,000 times. Crap! The cultivators felt a great chill running down their spines. They quickly executed various Dao arts, ancient Dao weapons, and talismans to protect themselves. Soon, all of their expressions froze. The terrifying tomb was indeed shattered. However, the instant it shattered, it did not emit any sound, nor did it produce any energy. The enormous walls of the tomb and the battlefield beneath their feet turned into colorful light dots surging in all directions. Jiang Enai, Su Nu, and the cultivators outside the terrifying tomb were utterly confused. They felt like the terrifying tomb had turned into a galaxy covering the entire place. What was going on? Qin Nan, Feng Wuheng, and Jiang Enai shuddered all of a sudden as a strange feeling rose in their hearts. Buzz. For a moment, the sky trembled. Dragon-shaped storms were born in the void. They traveled in all directions at an astonishing speed, stirring up countless light spots. Supreme Dragon Wind. Qin Nan, Feng Wuheng, Jiang Enai, and the others have obtained the fortunate encounter to become a 9 Heavens Supreme. The cultivators immediately collected their thoughts. However, after experiencing a series of changes and events, something like this was no longer enough to shock them. Normally, I shouldn't be able to obtain the fortunate encounter to become a 9 Heavens Supreme so quickly. Is it because the tomb is collapsing? The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. Xiang Tianqi, hurry up and restrain Qin Nan, we can't let him leave the death zone. Lu Qinin yelled. Xiang Tianqi and Nie Wufeng immediately collected their thoughts. They were startled. The rules of the death zone stated that the cultivators could choose to leave after obtaining the fortunate encounter to become a 9 Heavens Supreme. If Qin Nan were to leave, it was impossible to tell how long it would take for the current situation and the opportunity to arise again. Ha ha ha, that won't be necessary. Didn't you notice that the 3 of us can only achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme realm in this place? Feng Wuheng let out a hearty laugh. Lu Qinin, the others, and the cultivators immediately sensed something. They raised their heads and saw the rift turning into lightning bolts all of a sudden. A few moments later, the sky above the death zone turned into a sea of lightning. The lightning consisted of 3 different colors: purple, golden, and blue. They intertwined with one another and unleashed a destructive aura. Everything on the ground was dyed in the same colors. The sky had turned into a sea of lightning. It was a rare phenomenon that would only happen when someone was trying to achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme realm. In other words, Qin Nan and the others were on the verge of achieving the 9 Heavens Supreme realm. It seems like this is the result of us suddenly obtaining the fortunate encounter to achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme realm, Jiang Enai said calmly. Jiang Enai said with a calm expression. He slowly stood up from his cross-legged sitting position. The brilliant light emitted from the tomb of the Master of Tao had merged with his body. His aura underwent a tremendous change too. He was now emitting two different auras. The flesh of his past life had completely merged with his body. Qin Nan, this is fate's arrangement. Only one of us can achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm and become an emperor. Jiang and I drew his sword and pointed it at Qin Nan. Everyone, listen up, we must take down Qin Nan at all costs. Lu Qimin and Nye Wufeng yelled at the same time. Fellow cultivators, it's time to put this sinner to death. Xiang Tianqi let out a roar. At that instant, a tremendous murderous aura surged toward Qin Nan from the sea of lightning. Lu Qimin, Nye Wufeng, and the rest of the cultivators charged at Qin Nan like a terrifying calamity. Xiang Tianqi, who was the closest to Qin Nan, immediately executed a shocking move. The cultivators of the other factions and the rogue cultivators, including Su Nu and the exceptional geniuses who were deemed as the strongest cultivators, were astounded by the sight. The murderous aura was absolutely shocking. There were just too many exceptional geniuses and cultivators trying to take down Qin Nan. Even a 9 heavens supreme in the early stage would not stand a chance against such a huge formation, let alone Qin Nan. Haha, great timing. To their surprise, Qin Nan burst out laughing instead of being intimidated. His blue-red hair drifted in the wind as his battle intent soared into the sky. Chapter 2010. Qin Nan, how can you still laugh under such circumstances? Isn't this flower your trump card? I'm going to destroy it now. Xiang Tianqi slashed at the flower of eternity like a sharp ray. Lu Qimin had told him how powerful the flower was, yet he had scoffed at it. Even if the flower was comparable to a Tao-seeking weapon, it could still be destroyed easily. Qin Nan completely ignored Xiang Tianqi's words. He immediately unleashed wisps of saber intents at the cultivators that were charging at him. A huge battle had broken out. Even though it was only the beginning, the cultivators nearby could feel their hair standing on its end and their hearts trembling due to the shock waves from the collisions. This was the difference between them and Qin Nan. If they were in Qin Nan's shoes, they would not even have the courage to fight him. Damn it! Xiang Tianqi's expression quickly turned gloomy. He had executed at least 10 powerful attacks, including the attacks of more than 30 cultivators at the same time, yet the goddamned flower remained still as if it was perfectly unharmed. Secrets of the Undead Realm, 17 Spirit Gates. Lu Qimin teamed up with the cultivators of the Wengu tribe. They executed the trump cards they had prepared in advance and performed a few mysterious hand seals. 17 huge gaps suddenly appeared in the magnificent ocean of lightning. Ancient gates over 80 zhang tall with mysterious words on them descended from the sky. The moment they landed on the ground, an overwhelming force suppressed Qin Nan's divine sense. Qin Nan's divine sense suddenly sank, preventing him from using his divine sense. They're only suppressing my divine sense? Qin Nan was able to see through the mystery with a single glance. Lu Qimin had obviously put in a lot of effort. Even with Qin Nan's outstanding cultivation, it would take him at least half the period of an incense stick to break free from the suppression of the 17 Spirit Gate. Half the period it took an incense stick to burn was more than enough to kill Qin Nan. Qin Nan, don't you think it's embarrassing to hide behind a flower? If you have the ability, then come and fight me head-on! Xiang Tianqi shouted sternly. Meanwhile, Feng Wuheng transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. He, cultivator Qin Nan, at this rate, you are going to die for sure. Why don't you give me a few drops of your blood essence? I'll lend you a hand and help you achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm. What do you think? If you don't believe me, I can swear an oath first. Qin Nan ignored Feng Wuheng and looked at Feng Wuheng. Feng Wuheng, he needed a few drops of his blood essence? What was Feng Wuheng trying to do? Stop wasting your time, I'm going to pay you later. Not only was Feng Wuheng's request strange, but he had also absorbed Meng Jiugong. He had to rescue Meng Jiugong too. Blue veins popped out on Xiang Tianqi's forehead when he saw Qin Nan's reaction. He said, "You're just like your disciple. You are just like your master, a coward, a piece of trash." Qin Nan's eyes flickered coldly. "As you wish." He flashed past the white-blue flower. "All right, that's what you said." Xiang Tianqi was overjoyed. He immediately prepared to execute a killing blow, yet his eyes widened as a great sense of danger exploded in his heart. Tree of Tao. Qin Nan's aura skyrocketed. A terrifying tree appeared and merged with his figure. It charged at Xiang Tianqi. Sword of Murdering Tao. Xiang Tianqi immediately unleashed the full potential of his Sherdao flesh, emitting a shocking glow. Even though the Sherdao flesh was not one of the top 10 ancient fleshly bodies, the cultivators who were well versed in the art knew that once the flesh was fully developed, its power was even stronger than the perfect flesh of Devour. Even though Xiang Tianqi had yet to achieve that, he was not too bad either. He had achieved the greater mastery of the murdering Tao flesh. However, a shocking sight took place when the two clashed. Bang! Following a huge blast, Xiang Tianqi cried out in agony. His glow dimmed as he was sent flying like an arrow being fired. He slammed heavily into the distance. The terrifying strength qi that surged out struck many of the surrounding cultivators, who were unable to dodge in time, causing them to let out blood-curdling screams. Qin Nan began to show his true strength. He waved his hand and fired countless illusionary sabers at Xiang Tianqi, nailing him to the ground. The cultivators were dumbfounded. They could not believe it. That was the saint of the Sherdao tribe, Xiang Tianqi, one of the 10 exceptional geniuses. And yet, Qin Nan had defeated Xiang Tianqi with a single move? TSK, as expected of the successor of the fifth immortal. I didn't expect him to have such a mystical tree of Tao. No wonder he rejected my offer. Feng Wuheng squinted. Very well, I can have some fun with him. His eyes suddenly turned black as 9 enormous vortexes with different glows rose behind him. His aura immediately surpassed everyone's. It was even stronger than Qin Nan's. Coexistence of 9 fleshes. Many people were dumbfounded when they saw it again. Buzz. A peerless sword glow pierced through the sky. Jiang Ni's body was done. His figure was extremely dazzling under the illusionary figures of the 2 masters of Tao. His calm eyes were fixed on Qin Nan. Force of the tombs entering the body. As soon as Nie Wufeng performed a hand seal, the ancient tombs of various sizes instantly unleashed waves of invisible force into his body, making him look like an ancient giant that others could only look up to. Qin Nan, don't let me down. Feng Wuheng licked his lips and made his move. Bang bang bang. A series of explosions took place. Qin Nan, the tree, and the saber clashed with the cultivators and the exceptional geniuses. In less than a breath's time, the rest of the cultivators felt the glow on Qin Nan's body dimming. It was on the verge of being devoured. Qin Nan might be strong, unbelievably strong, but he's only on his own. He's surely going to die in the battle. A peak peerless ruler exclaimed. It might not be right to call it a battle. It was more like a one-sided battle. Qin Nan, I'm very impressed. Once the battle is over, I'll bury you here with my own hands. Lu Qimin said calmly as she went up to Qin Nan while strengthening herself with the force of the heavens and earth. Before Qin Nan could speak, a cold harumph was heard. Aren't you ashamed that so many cultivators are going against a single person? 7 figures were approaching rapidly from the distance. Each of them had a formidable aura, surpassing that of an ordinary peerless ruler. Qin Nan was startled. He did not expect the people that came to lend him a hand were Lei Daoming, Mu Jingze, Zhao Li and the exceptional geniuses of the Sky Taihuang sect, the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, and the Sanqing Ancient sect. Qin Nan, you might not know this, but the three supreme Taoism factions have formed an alliance. We happened to come to the death zone to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm. Therefore, our masters have ordered us to lend you a hand if we see you again. Lei Daoming said calmly. Lu Qingyin's eyes glittered. She said calmly, even with the help of the 3 factions, it's still impossible. Suddenly, a displeased voice was heard. Chapter 2011. A woman with snow-white skin and attractive facial features in a white dress with golden runes flew toward them from the distance. She was emitting a faint white glow, giving her a sacred and noble aura. No one would dare to disrespect her. Behind her was a woman with short white hair and a blue robe. She looked like a scholar. Many of the cultivators in the surroundings were stunned by the sight. The appearances of these 2 women could not only be described as devastatingly beautiful, but the aura emitted from their bodies, as well as their incorporeal elegance, made them extremely dazzling and eye-catching even in such a grand battlefield. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. In that instant, all the sounds, all the Tao techniques, and all the enemies seemed to disappear from his eyes. There were only the 2 figures that haunted his dreams. Everything felt like an illusion. It did not feel real at all. Were they really here? Many people noticed Qin Nan's unusual behavior. Little Nanzi, I think you have a rare enemy-attracting physique. No matter where you go, there will always be a lot of enemies. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan landed beside Qin Nan. The former twisted her lips while the latter smiled. Princess Bailan, before Qin Nan could finish, a finger was placed on his lips. Princess Miao Miao blinked her eyes at him and said, "But you're my man after all. From now on, no matter what happens, little Lon Lon and I won't let you bear it alone." Jiang Bailan nodded her head gently. She would never do that. I didn't expect friend Qin Nan to have 2 exceptional geniuses as his confidants. Lu Qinyin collected her thoughts and said calmly. She had already sensed that the 2 women were peak peerless rulers in the greater success stage of the Tao realm. Yet, what difference would it make? Xiao Nanzi, let's talk about it after everything is over. For now, Xiao Lanlan, let's suppress the tribe of immortal spirits first. Princess Miao Miao said calmly. She and Jiang Bailan performed a hand seal simultaneously. 2 magnificent illusionary figures appeared behind them with overwhelming auras surging at the cultivators in front of them. Lord of all worlds. So you 2 are the successors of Masters of Tao. Lu Qinyin raised her brows and said calmly, however, aren't you being a little too full of yourself if you think you can suppress the tribe of immortal spirits with just that? Even though the tribe of immortal spirits was not the strongest force in the battle, they did have 4 exceptional geniuses and a few dozen peak peerless rulers. It was quite a formidable lineup. What if you include my soulless flesh? Princess Miao Miao's eyes flickered with an immortal glow as the aura emitted from her figure instantly changed. If she was sacred and noble just a moment ago, she was now like a peerless fairy that had surpassed everything in the world. She was untainted by even a speck of dust and no laws could bind her. At that instant, the force of the heavens and earth that the cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits gathered toward Princess Miao Miao. Not only that, but the immortal spirit bodies they were circulating were also greatly suppressed, causing their light to dim. Soulless flesh? The strongest flesh of the tribe of immortal spirits? How does she have it? From what I know, even the people of the tribe of immortal spirits have to achieve the soulless flesh to achieve the soulless flesh. What? Achieve the soulless flesh? Many of the surrounding cultivators were visibly moved. In the ancient tribes, those who achieved the soulless flesh were considered exceptional geniuses in their respective tribes. They were given lots of resources to nurture them. Bloodline transcendence, that was truly an existence that was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns, extremely rare. For example, even Nye Wufeng had yet to achieve the soulless flesh. As for Lu Qinin and the cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits, they were even more shocked. The reason being that the woman was not even a member of the tribe of immortal spirits. However, that was not the end of it. Jiang Bailan performed a hand seal. An illusionary force entered Princess Miao Miao's body, strengthening the aura of Princess Miao Miao's soulless flesh by 10 times. She's enhancing the power of her lineage? The hearts of many cultivators in the surroundings shook violently. Only those who were not from the same tribe would be able to enhance the power of their lineage. Only those who had achieved the soulless flesh could enhance the power of their lineage. The woman with short white hair was obviously not a member of the tribe of immortal spirits. In other words, she had achieved the soulless flesh too. There are indeed monsters around monsters. Lei Daoming exclaimed in his heart. He yelled, "Let's go too!" Mu Jingze, Zhao Li'er, and the exceptional geniuses nodded. They executed their arts of Tao seeking and unleashed their immortal force. They soared into the sky and executed a series of Tao arts. Junior brother Qin Nan, we're here to lend you a hand. Meanwhile, many cultivators from the Sky Taihuang sect, Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect, and Sanqing Ancient sect who had entered the death zone came to Qin Nan's aid. Some set up formations while others took out their Tao weapons. Even though their group was significantly weaker than Feng Wuheng, Lu Qinin, Jiang Enai, and the others, Qin Nan's presence was no longer as dull as before. Qin Nan, you're really something. So many people are here to lend you a hand. Unfortunately, it's meaningless in the face of absolute strength. Feng Wuheng wore a disdainful look. He gathered the power of the 9 fleshes and weaved through the cultivators to reach Qin Nan within an instant. Jiang and I turned into a sword glow and pierced through the rift to stab Qin Nan's forehead. Qin Nan burst out laughing as he collected his thoughts. He merged with the tree and slashed forward. Countless explosions rang out one after another. Now, this was a great battle, and it was no longer a one-sided suppression. A few moments later, 2 explosions suddenly took place between the heavens and earth. 2 magnificent mountains over 99,999 zhang tall appeared in the air. They emitted a brilliant glow and a faint aura. They seemed to be connected to Feng Wuheng and Jiang and I. The Supreme Mountains had appeared. Following it, another explosion took place as the 3rd Supreme Mountain appeared. The cultivators were not startled when they saw the Supreme Mountains. Every peerless ruler would have a Supreme Mountain when they achieved the 9 heavens Supreme Realm. Every peerless ruler would have to climb the mountain step by step to trigger the tribulation. They would eventually reach the top of the mountain and achieve the 9 heavens Supreme Realm. They had never seen anyone achieve the 9 heavens Supreme Realm with a single thought like Li Bei. However, almost every cultivator at the scene soon sensed that something was not right. Many of them raised their heads and their eyes widened after taking a glance. Chapter 2013. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect the Tao tribulation to be so powerful. Copper mirror, thanks, but don't worry, I'm already prepared for it, Qin Nan said. Nanping calmed his thoughts and transmitted his voice. He was already prepared to face a great flood when he entered the 7th sacred area, but the Tao tribulation had brought it forward. Qin Nan? Jiang and I? Nie Wufeng? Lu Qinin? 3 Supreme Mountains? The cultivators outside the 1st sacred area were dumbfounded when they saw the scene before them. They could not believe their eyes. How did all the cultivators in such a huge place come out of the death zone? How had the rules of the death zone been broken or altered? We have really returned to the supreme transforming left realm. The cultivators on the ground collected their thoughts. Many of them were extremely excited. They had been in the death zone for more than 100 years, yet they had never found the fortunate encounter to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm. They had already given up hope, yet they did not expect to return to the place they had been dreaming about. Patriarch, deep inside the immortal slaying river in the first sacred area, a place called the Other Shore has appeared. It has a few thousand ancient tombs, including the tombs of 9 masters of Tao and the tomb of the second immortal, Zhuangchen. The top exceptional genius of the 10 Desires sect, Su Nu, quickly collected her thoughts and reported everything to the sect. Hurry up and tell everyone what happened here. The cultivators of the other factions collected their thoughts too. They immediately transmitted their thoughts to Qin Nan. This everything that had happened was just too shocking. They had to report it to the sect. Damn it! Feng Wuheng could not help but curse. He did not expect it to turn out like this. Many of his secrets would be exposed in advance. It would bring him a lot of trouble. Qin Nan, I didn't expect someone from the tribe of immortal spirits to be close to you. She has even achieved the lineage transcendence realm. Lu Qimin grinned. Unfortunately, you aren't in luck, as many people aren't willing to see you achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm. Jiang Bailan glanced at her and said, Qin Nan, ignore her. Now that the supreme mountain has appeared, let's climb it first. Nan nodded and took a deep look at the 2 girls. Then, a monstrous aura erupted from his body as he flew into the supreme mountain. Qin Nan, I wanted to play with you for a while, but now that things have come to this, don't blame me. Wu Hen's eyes flashed with malevolence. He and Jiang and I stepped onto the supreme mountain at the same time. At that moment, tens of thousands of strange phenomena appeared on the ground. Waves of apocalyptic aura surged out in all directions like a vast ocean. A while later, the news spread across the 9 heavens immortal realm. What? Feng Wuhen is the successor of the second immortal, Zhuangchen? Gasp, that's the second immortal. Not only that, he has 9 fleshes too. He's basically unbeatable. Feng Wuhen was clearly the center of attention. Many cultivators placed their attention on him. Meanwhile, in the Sky Taihuang sect. And now, Qin Nan is in a deadly trap. If I'm not mistaken, the heaven-repelling ancient sect and the ancient taboo will surely make their move. According to Feiyue, Feng Wuhen needs something from Qin Nan to coexist with the 9 fleshes. What should we do? Many ancient voices echoed in the air. Supreme Xiao frowned and said, Enough, I'll head to the Supreme Transforming Left Realm now. I still stand by what I said, as long as the Sky Taihuang sect is willing to accept it. Qin Nan is a disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect. We must stand on his side no matter what happens, Supreme Xiao said. Supreme Chang Xiao no longer cared about what the others were saying. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the rift. Meanwhile, in the heaven-slaying sect, ha, it's finally here, the chance is finally here. The beast-hide drawing burst out laughing in an ancient hall. It's worth all the effort I've put into setting this up. The ancient authorities brought their fists together. Congratulations, Patriarch, your plan is about to succeed. The beast-hide drawing waved his hand. His lips curled upward. The successor of the second immortal has shown up. Based on my understanding of Zhuangchen, it's not a coincidence. It's very likely that Zhuangchen is planning something behind the scenes. But it doesn't matter, the flower of eternity is about to reach the greater success stage. No one can stop me from acquiring the indestructible flesh of eternity. My lord, let me restore the glory of the past for you. The beast-hide drawing let out a murderous roar. Everyone, listen up, we're heading to the Supreme Transforming Left Realm. As for that bullshit coexistence of 9 fleshly bodies, he did not put it in his eyes at all. As long as his grand plan succeeded, everything in front of him would be meaningless. Meanwhile, the ancient taboo, white skeletons in a magnificent river emitted different auras and dyed the rift in different colors. Senior, please let me kill Feng Wuheng and Qin Nan. The immortals are not allowed to exist. A majestic existence walked out from the depths of the river, emitting a murderous aura. Ha, that won't be necessary. The ancient taboo burst out laughing. The second immortal, the fifth immortal, these taboos must die. We've failed time and time again. If they show up together, then I'll deal with them myself. A great clap of thunder took place in the rift. Meanwhile, the void heaven realm of the first immortal realm, the void heaven realm, was the strongest place in the nine heavens immortal realm. Chapter 2014. Meanwhile, the first sacred area of the supreme transforming left realm, thousands of rare phenomena appeared on the three supreme mountains. They consisted of the tribulation of wind and fire, the tribulation of God refinement, the tribulation of sword demon, and other tribulations. They loomed over the place with shocking auras. Many peerless rulers in the early stage were terrified. Qin Nan, Jiang Enai, and Feng Wuheng would encounter a tribulation every time they took a step toward the supreme mountains. The closer they were to the top of the mountains, the more tribulations they would encounter. However, to them, the power of these calamities could not be considered powerful at all. They could easily annihilate them. Great devouring art. Great art of yin and yang. Art of reincarnation. Feng Wuheng was incredibly quick. He kept his divine sense locked onto Qin Nan while destroying the tribulations. He executed the outstanding abilities of the nine fleshes of the ancient fleshes. Song of Destruction Sword. Jiang and I did the same too. He executed an outstanding sword art to attack Qin Nan. Don't just stand there, attack now, we must kill him before he achieves the nine heavens supreme realm. Nie Wufeng yelled. He immediately unleashed the full potential of the art of Tao, seeking in his body to accumulate a formidable aura. The rest of the cultivators immediately reacted. They executed a series of Tao arts. From afar, it looked like a great tide was surging at Qin Nan to destroy him and the mountain. Even though they had already shown up outside the first sacred area, and the news had already spread. Many factions would make their moves soon, but it would still take some time for the nine heavens supremes to make their way here. It was more than enough time for Qin Nan to achieve the nine heavens supreme realm. One with the tree. Qin Nan controlled the tree of Tao to destroy the Tao arts and the others. Lei Daoming, Mu Jingze, Zhao Li'er, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses were close to Qin Nan's supreme mountain. They kept moving around to nullify the Tao arts that were coming at them. Princess Miao Miao not far away displayed the terrifying strength of the soulless flesh. She was able to suppress Lu Qinyin and half of the cultivators of the tribe of immortal spirits on her own. She had the upper hand in the battle. Bang 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 bang. A series of thunderous blasts took place. Without the suppression of the rules of the heavens and earth in the first sacred area, the battle was even more shocking. Strong gusts of wind shattered the rift nearby. The sky and earth were also illuminated by the light of various Taoist techniques, turning them into brilliant colors. Feng Wuheng, Jiang Enai, and Nie Wufeng are teaming up against Qin Nan Qin. The cultivators outside of heavens, supreme mountain realm, were in the nine heavens, supreme heavens. The heavens supremes, nine heavens supremes, nine heavens peak heavens. If an ordinary peerless ruler was caught in the battle, they would suffer serious injuries even if they were lucky enough to survive. Xiao Lanlan, it's time to make your move. Princess Miao Miao uttered a crisp voice all of a sudden. Jiang Bailan nodded slightly. She performed a mystical seal with her hands. The rift not far away from her shattered as several demons in black robes and holding black scythes in the shape of crescent moons flew out and headed for the 17 Spirit Gate. 9 Netherworld soul-destroying demon art? Lu Qingyin's expression shifted. She said, "How did you learn that art?" Among the many Tao techniques, this technique was not considered powerful. Therefore, there were very few people who cultivated it. However, it had a special effect. It was able to suppress the Spirit Gate. I know you're planning to deal with Qi Nan's flower, so I've read a lot of ancient records and asked a lot of seniors. There are 62 arts that can seal off a person's divine sense. Among the 62 gates, the 17 spirit gates of the undead realm is the most suitable because it consumes the least energy, and it's not easy to destroy. I would choose it if I were you. Jiang Bailan smiled faintly. The ghostly gods had already reached the 17 spirit silencing gate. The black scythes in their hands slashed down with shocking sharpness, causing the gates to tremble violently and cracks to appear on them. The restriction on Qi Nan's divine sense weakened too. Qi Nan is impressed by how smart you are, but there's no way you can free Qi Nan's divine sense with it. Lu Qimin calmed her thoughts and transmitted her thoughts. 20 peerless rulers of the tribe of immortal spirits and the Wengu tribe immediately performed a hand seal. Bang! An explosion took place deep inside the sky. An illusionary boulder covered in runes slowly appeared. A strong sealing force surged into Qi Nan's mind. It was the secret of the god-sealing heavenly boulder formation. The formation was significantly stronger than the spirit gates, but the price of using it was a lot higher. As such, Lu Qining did not use it at first. She only used it as a backup in case something went wrong. Lu Qining, you're very smart and cautious. You'll always have a backup plan when it's important. Jiang Bailan still had a faint smile on her face as she said, "So, I've prepared it for you." She flicked her finger in the air, causing a huge formation to appear in mid-air, emitting a brilliant glow. From the eye of the formation, a strange beast with 5 pairs of sharp horns on its forehead flew out. When that pair of tiny scarlet eyes saw the formation in the sky, its expression immediately became excited. It turned into a ray of light and charged into the formation. A formation-devouring beast. The 40 peerless rulers who were about to withdraw after setting up the formation were startled. They continued to perform hand seals to maintain the formation. Qi Nan is humbled by your intelligence, Lu Qining said sincerely. Lu Qining said sincerely. She then switched the topic and said, "It's a pity that the formation would only be devoured if you had 2 more spirit-engulfing beasts." But now, Jiang Bailan said with a smile, "It's indeed a pity. I've asked many seniors for help, but I only managed to find one. That being said, isn't it enough? At least, these cultivators won't be able to take part in the battle anymore." Lu Qingyin's eyes widened. Meanwhile, Qi Nan, Jiang Anai, and Feng Wuheng had reached the waist of the Supreme Mountain. They were not far away from the top of the mountain. Due to the various calamities that came one after another, the battle between them became even more intense. All sorts of trump cards were used one after another. Chapter 2015. Aura of the Emperor and Minister's Tomb, the heavens and earth submit. Wu Wufeng performed a hand seal. Wounds began to appear all over his body as pitch-black blood poured out from them. The blood turned into illusionary tombs of different sizes in the sky. It was the biggest one. Even though they could only see its outline, every cultivator could sense how magnificent and terrifying it was. It was the tombs that Qi Nan and the others had stumbled into in the land of the other shore. Even though Nye Wufeng had only mastered the aura of the tombs, thus he could only unleash less than 10% of its power, yet it was still extremely terrifying. It felt like countless ancient beasts were going to devour everything. A mere aura of the tombs dares to make me drop to my knees? Qi Nan's blue-red hair drifted in the wind as the tree of Tao fell behind him. A tremendous battle intent burst out of him and merged with the battle intent of the divine battle spirit and the Lord of all worlds to attack the tomb aura. The entire Supreme Mountain began to tremble slightly. On the Supreme Mountain, before the many great tribulations in the sky could descend, they were annihilated into pieces. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place around Nan. He had to admit that the aura of the Emperor and Minister's tomb was extraordinarily terrifying. It was giving him a great pressure. Void with a single thought, void with all laws, void with a single sword, void with all Tao. The rocks under Jiang Ni's feet were shattered into pieces. The sky nearby dimmed as icy sword intents appeared all of a sudden, as if they were going to slash everything into pieces. This was the sword art that he had practiced in his past life. It was called the Tao assimilating sword art. Even though Qin Nan had just learned it, thus he was unable to achieve the level of void with a single sword. However, he had already mastered it after merging with the memories of his past life. Tao jolting saber art. Nan unleashed whisks of saber intents to shatter the sword intents. However, the power of each of the sword intents completely surpassed the saber intents of the Tao jolting saber art. It did not seem like much at first, but a few moments later, the number of sword intents increased, while the number of saber intents decreased. Break it! Qin Nan's eyes sharpened. The tree of Tao soared into the sky and unleashed a destructive force to destroy the sword glow. Qin Nan, you're relying on this tree of Tao, right? I'm going to suppress it now. Windlass gave a long hiss, both hands suddenly grabbing. There is no distinction between monarch and minister. An illusionary tomb loomed over the tree of Tao, followed by more illusionary tombs that merged with one another. They were like chains that were placed on the same spot. The tree of Tao shook vigorously and emitted various immortal glows. However, the tombs only suffered a series of explosions. They did not break into pieces right away. The tree of Tao was temporarily trapped. Ha 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 ha. Let's see how you'll stop me without that tree, Qin Nan. Feng Wuhan's body suddenly split into a clone. This clone's eyes were pitch black, and his expression was dull. He did not have any intelligence, but there were 9 different lights flowing around his body. Every cultivator could feel the terrifying fluctuations coming from it. Qin Nan, have a taste of the power of the 9 fleshes. Feng Wuhan's clone sprang out from the mountain and charged at Qin Nan like a peerless sword. A terrifying aura immediately surged in Qin Nan's direction. The rift nearby immediately turned chaotic. Skystride blow. Qin Nan suddenly vanished into thin air and reappeared not far away at the top of the mountain. Trying to reach the top of the mountain? There's no way. Feng Wuhan said. Feng Wuhan let out a hollow laugh. He immediately used the power of the yin and yang flesh to teleport close to Qin Nan. However, before he could say the word impossible, he saw hundreds and thousands of terrifying tribulations pouring down like a vast river. One had to climb the mountain of supremacy one step at a time. Only someone like Li Bei would be able to cross a huge part of the mountain in one go. Bang bang bang! The terrifying force of the calamities instantly devoured Feng Wuhan's clone. Qin Nan unleashed a boundless saber intent to shatter Jiang Ni's sword glow and the calamities at the top of the mountain. It's just a petty trick. Feng Wuhan wore a disdainful look. Following a rapid piercing sound, the figure of the clone grew 9 times its original size. The power of the 9 fleshes formed an invisible armor that encapsulated his body, allowing him to ignore the Great Tribulation. The power of the 9 fleshes has surpassed the past and present. Qin Nan die. Feng Wuhan rose into the sky with 9 terrifying storms in his hand. He approached Qin Nan like a deity. The whole mountain of supremacy began to tremble vigorously. No. On top of that, it felt like everything around Qin Nan was locked down by an invisible force. Even with the Skystride blow, he was unable to teleport to the other side. In other words, Qin Nan had no choice but to resist the attacks. My past life's sword has become its master, my present life's sword has become an emperor. Jiang Ni's aura skyrocketed by 5 times. The 2 magnificent illusionary figures behind him began to synchronize their movements. They would pick up a sword whenever he picked up a sword. They would follow suit whenever he swung his sword. The 3 swords merged into one and slashed through everything. Kill! His exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers realized the perfect opportunity had arrived. They unleashed their murderous auras and executed various Dao arts to attack the enemy. Crap, Lei Daoming, Mu Jingze, Zhao Li'er, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses were startled. How could Qin Nan possibly survive the attack? Qin Nan is surely going to die this time. The cultivators who were not involved in the battle were dumbfounded. Everyone was watching the battle closely. The death of the successor of the fifth immortal during the crucial moment of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm was more significant than the death of a Nine Heavens Supreme. Xiao Lanlan. Princess Miao uttered a roar as she performed a hand seal with her left hand, causing a white petal to appear on her forehead. Jiang Bailan wore a stern expression as she performed a hand seal with her right hand, causing a black petal to appear on her forehead. A terrifying invisible force swept across the area. However, before they could make their move, Qin Nan burst out laughing as the deadly attack was about to land on him. Feng Wuheng, Jiang and I Nye Wufeng, I'm about to achieve the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm. I shall fight you with all I have. As soon as he finished speaking, the cultivators present saw an extremely shocking scene. Chapter 2016. The Tao Intents of the Battle Tao Immortal Manuscript, the True Scriptures of Sky Tai Huang, the Tao Scriptures of Ten Desires, the True Scriptures of Lifeless Taiyan, the True Scriptures of Ultimate Life Tao, and other arts of Tao seeking soared into the sky and dyed the sky in various colors. If Qin Nan's brilliance was dim when he was surrounded by Jiang and I, Feng Wuheng, Nye Wufeng, and the rest of the exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers as if he was going to be devoured at any second, Qin Nan was currently like a peerless emperor with an imperious aura. His brilliance surpassed every cultivator on the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, he became the most eye-catching existence in the entire Grand War. Tao Scriptures of Ten Desires? Su Nu's eyes widened in disbelief. The True Scriptures of Ultimate Life Tao? Jiang and I was stunned as well. Is that the Tao intent of the Sanqing mystical scriptures? Could it be the Tao intent of the Heaven illusionary ancient scriptures? And the Tao intents of the illusionary immortal Tao manuscript, the reincarnation Tao manuscript, the Tao execution art, and the sky-inheriting boulder inscriptions? The peak peerless rulers of the other factions blurted out. Then, the entire land fell into a deathly silence. This scene was simply too shocking. Even though there were no rules in the Nine Heavens immortal realm, allowing anyone to practice as many arts of Tao seeking as they wanted, most cultivators would only practice one or two arts of Tao seeking, or at most 3 or 4. After all, any more and the cultivator would not have the time to take care of all the arts of Tao seeking. As such, the fact that he was able to achieve the perfection stage by practicing 12 arts of Tao seeking at the same time and emitting a strong Tao intent was already quite impressive, not to mention that apart from one of the arts of Tao seeking, the rest were all from the 14 Supreme Taoism factions. In other words, apart from the True Scriptures of Sky Tai Huang and the Battle Tao Immortal Manuscript, Qin Nan had also used some extraordinary means to steal the arts of Tao seeking of 11 Supreme Taoism factions. Tao Jolting Saber Art. Facing the attacks, Qin Nan once again unleashed his saber intents. However, the saber intents were more than 10 times stronger than before. They shattered Feng Wuheng's clone, Jiang Ni's sword, and the Tao arts with brute force. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. The tree of Tao unleashed a terrifying force. It shattered the illusionary tombs into pieces and returned to Qin Nan's back. The Tao intent of the 12 arts of Tao seeking merged with the tree of Tao. Qin Nan's terrifying aura rose once again. This was the true stance of the first immortal Qin Nan. I remember now. When you were fighting for the fruits of the heavens and earth, you didn't hesitate to offend the major factions and suppressed many peerless geniuses. Later on, you even hid for a while and suppressed many peerless geniuses. Many people thought that you were crazy, but who would have thought that you were actually doing this for? Lu Qingyin's eyes were filled with astonishment as a thought crossed her mind. She initially thought she had learned a lot about Qin Nan. Everything that Qin Nan possessed was left behind by the fifth immortal. She finally realized how terrifying Qin Nan was. Master, something's wrong. Su Nu collected her thoughts. She took a deep breath and quickly transmitted her thoughts. She initially thought the 10 Desires Dao sect did not have to be involved in the chaos, but it turned out that they had no choice. Every Supreme Taoism faction treated their arts of Tao seeking extremely important. They would use everything they had to eliminate any outsider that managed to learn their arts of Tao seeking, regardless of their identity. This, Mu Jingze and Zhao Li collected their thoughts too. They wore complicated looks when they thought of the same thing. Even though the Sky Taihuang sect had formed an alliance with the Heaven Illusionary Ancient sect and the Sanqing Ancient sect, what Qin Nan had done had crossed the line. Just report it to the sect. I believe Qin Nan won't blame you no matter what order your sect gives in the end. Lei Daoming's eyes flickered with admiration for the first time when he saw the terrifying figure approaching the top of the mountain. He said, he must be mentally prepared when he did it. Lei Daoming finally realized that Qin Nan's plan was not limited to the Sky Taihuang sect. All kinds of news soon spread to the Supreme Taoism factions. The 10 Desires Tao sect, the Superfluous Lifeless sect, the Extreme Living Gate, the Illusionary Immortal Tao Gate, and the rest of the Supreme Taoism factions were infuriated. How impressive of this Qin Nan! I was wondering why he would suppress Lu Gufeng and offend the Reincarnation sect for no reason. It turns out that he was only after the Reincarnation Tao manuscript. We didn't want to get involved, but we can't just stand by and do nothing now. Spread the word. Ask the Supreme Elders to head to the Supreme Transforming Left Realm at once. We can't let Qin Nan achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm. We must kill him on the spot. Either way, we can't let Qin Nan live. How impressive of you, Qin Nan. We even asked Mu Jingze and the exceptional geniuses to help you, yet you've done something like this to us. Master, please calm down. The 3 factions have just formed an alliance. If we kill Qin Nan now, the Sky Taihuang sect won't be happy about it. Send a message to Chang Shao, ask him to give me an explanation. The Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect and the Sanqing Ancient sect did not stir up any trouble on the spot since they had just formed an alliance. However, the remaining 7 Supreme Taoism factions immediately unleashed destructive auras. One order after another surged out like a tide. The 9 Heaven Supremes and even stronger existences immediately unleashed their murderous auras and disappeared into the distance after receiving the orders. The news spread among the other factions, the ancient tribes, and the entire 9 Heavens immortal realm like a storm. Countless cultivators were startled once again. If they were only focusing on Feng Wuheng's coexistence of 9 fleshes not long ago, they were now focusing on Qin Nan. Meanwhile, in a mysterious place in the Void Heaven realm, a peerless woman withdrew her divine sense after seeing the overwhelming aura coming from the badge. Her cold eyes gazed into the distance. A moment later, she vanished into thin air. Chapter 2017. Meanwhile, above the first sacred area, on the ground, as expected of my man, Shao Nanzi is indeed impressive. Princess Miao Miao smiled proudly. Jiang Bailan's eyes glittered too. The black petals on her forehead gradually faded away. They were initially planning to use the formation to help Qin Nan, but it seemed like it was no longer necessary. Qin Nan, I didn't expect you to have practiced 12 Tao arts and successfully embarked on an extraordinary path. No wonder your supreme mountain is a zhang taller than mine. Feng Wuheng collected his thoughts. He wore an excited, twisted and bloodthirsty grin. Over the past 10,000 years, apart from Feiyue, I don't think anyone else is worthy of my attention, but I've finally acknowledged you." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure abruptly shot out of the supreme mountain. If it was possible, he would never oppose Qin Nan. He would try his best to befriend Qin Nan instead. However, it was destined that it was impossible between them. Qin Nan had stopped him from achieving an extraordinary path, but Qin Nan would never lower his head to him. He had to kill Qin Nan and merge the 9 fleshes to achieve the 9 heavens' supreme realm. Qin Nan. Jiang and I let out a roar. His body was covered in ancient runes, causing his aura to skyrocket. He turned into a brilliant sword glow slashing forward. As a matter of fact, Feng Wuheng was as brilliant as Qin Nan. As a matter of fact, his identity as the successor of the second immortal was even better than Qin Nan's. If he wanted to become the emperor in his heart, Feng Wuheng would be his greatest enemy. However, he only knew Qin Nan before this, thus he had already made up his mind. As such, whether he was on his own or teaming up with others, he had to defeat Qin Nan. "So what if you've practiced 12 Dao arts? I'm going to eliminate you today." A ruthless look appeared on Nie Wufeng's face. He formed a hand seal, and the momentum of the monarch and minister tomb merged into his body. "The sect master has given the order. All disciples of the 10 Desires sect, listen up. Kill Qin Nan with all your might." Su Nu released her aura and joined the battlefield like a fairy descending to the mortal world. "Disciples of the Samsara sect, keep a close eye on Qin Nan and Feng Wuheng. If there is a chance, no matter who it is, attack with all your might." The exceptional geniuses and peerless rulers of the supreme Taoism factions turned into rays of light heading straight for Qin Nan's supreme mountain. "Friend Qin Nan, I'm sorry, but the sect has orders." Mu Jingze and Zhao Li'er showed a helpless expression. They clasped their fists and performed one Dao technique after another. Of course, they did not use any killing moves. They were merely making a symbolic move. The number of cultivators targeting Qin Nan had increased by at least a third compared to before. It felt like the place had turned into an ancient battlefield. Strong murderous intents soared into the sky and shook the place vigorously, resulting in rare phenomena. The cultivators that were not involved in the battle had no idea how to describe their feelings. There were too many shocking events that happened this time. No one could imagine what kind of storm it would cause in the end, and no one could imagine what the final outcome would be. Great illusionary saber art. 10 Desires saber art. Reincarnation saber art. Qin Nan was engulfed in the Tao-melting immortal flames. The Tao intents of the arts of Tao seeking combined with his Tao-jolting saber art to execute different saber arts that had never been seen before. The Tao art behind him was like an ancient titan, unleashing a destructive force that swept across the place. Not long after, cries of agony took place. Many peak peerless rulers were seriously injured by the attacks and fell from the sky after being careless. Qin Nan's strength is too terrifying. Su Nu and the exceptional geniuses of the supreme Taoism factions were startled. During the battle, they tried to fly close to the peak of the mountain and fight Qin Nan head-on like Jiang and I, Feng Wuheng and Nie Wufeng. However, they immediately felt an overwhelming pressure when they went closer. In addition to it, Qin Nan's casual slash was enough to send chills down their spines, as if they were facing a formidable foe. Not only was Qin Nan's eye technique able to see the weaknesses of various Tao arts, Qin Nan had also practiced the same arts of Tao seeking as them. He was well aware of the will and effects of the arts of Tao seeking. With the two combined, Qin Nan was like their natural enemy. He could easily suppress them. "Everyone, listen up, don't trespass into the center of the battlefield. We'll set up formations nearby to deal with Qin Nan." Su Nu and the rest of the exceptional geniuses were quite extraordinary. They immediately came up with a plan to deal with the situation and set up trap. Eternal Immortals, Sword of the Nine Heavens. Feng Wuheng began to get serious. He summoned the hand bone of Zhuang Chen's flesh. The flesh of devouring, the flesh of reincarnation, the flesh of yin and yang, and the flesh of eternal lightning that specialized in offense added a unique will to it. He fully utilized the first half of the art of Tao seeking of the ancient flesh that he practiced too. An unimaginably sharp sword glow appeared between the heavens and earth. Sword of the Emperor. Great burial of the heavens. Jiang Yan'ai and Nie Wufeng came from both sides and executed their strongest moves. A tree suppressing the heavens and earth, stopping all laws. Qin Nan's battle intent skyrocketed. He used the Tao intents of the 12 arts of Tao seeking to turn them into giant hands that grabbed the tree of Tao and planted it in the rift not far away from him. The leaves on the 9 colored branches immediately emitted brilliant glows. They fell from the branches and spread in all directions like peerless immortal sabers. In addition to it, a formidable 9-colored light burst out from the roots of the tree too. From afar, it felt like Qin Nan had summoned a boundless ocean that was going to devour everyone. It was the full power of the tree of Tao. How is the tree so terrifying? The eyes of Feng Wuheng, Jiang Yan'ai, Nie Wufeng, and the others widened. Not only were their attacks overwhelmed by the tree, they even felt a strong sense of danger. They had no choice but to react. Crap! The peerless rulers in the greater success stage and the early stage were startled. Bang bang bang! A series of deafening explosions took place. Different forces spread in all directions. Different glows flickered continuously. Many peerless rulers were knocked flying and slammed heavily into the rift in the distance. They either turned into a mist of blood or suffered serious injuries. F***K. Feng Wuheng, Jiang Yan'ai, and Nie Wufeng had just fended off the attacks when they saw Qin Nan's saber glow. The former cursed and dodged the attacks. Jiang Yan'ai scattered into hundreds of sword intents and flew in all directions to dodge the attacks. Nie Wufeng was slightly weaker than the other two. He had expended a lot of his energy too. He had just collected his thoughts. Before he could execute his secret art, Qin Nan suddenly picked up speed and showed up in front of him. A terrifying pressure directly pressed down on Nie Wufeng's mind. It was as if a supreme demon god was rushing towards him. Thousand Tombs Transformation. Chapter 2018. Nie Wufeng was actually killed? The hearts of many cultivators shuddered violently. Nie Wufeng was the saint of the Mumen sect, one of the top 10 peerless geniuses. He had also acquired the aura of the Emperor and Minister Tomb, thus his strength had long surpassed ordinary peerless geniuses. Although there was still a gap between them and Qin Nan, this was no longer a one-on-one battle. The number of cultivators attacking Qin Nan had reached an extremely shocking lineup. Even a 9 Heavens Supreme in the early stage would struggle to do it. Qin Nan turned to look at the peak of the mountain and leaped up. There were only a few steps left. Not good. Stop him from reaching the summit. Su Nu and the exceptional geniuses of various factions were startled once again. They immediately transmitted their thoughts and performed several forbidden hand seals with their hand. Great Luotian Killing Soul Formation. 19 Supreme Palaces. Eternal Immortal Owl Formation. In the blink of an eye, several famous ancient formations with terrifying power appeared in the void. On top of that, there was also the will of a 9 Heavens Supreme, the blood of a 9 Heavens Supreme, the bone of a 9 Heavens Supreme, the ancient Tao weapon, and other trump cards that could be considered trump cards under normal circumstances. Even though they didn't expect to kill Qin Nan, they had to at least stall Qin Nan so that he wouldn't be able to reach the top of the mountain for a while and wait for the experts from the other factions to arrive. Soulless Body Seal of Wonders. Omnidirectional Limitless Formation. At that instant, Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan both displayed their strongest moves. The former performed a total of 100 hand seals, each one emitting a mystical aura. The latter executed a mysterious Tao art to merge with the mystical will. 1. The space shuddered as countless runes spread across the place, forming a square with a ferocious demon holding a blood-stained saber in its hand standing on each side. The specter's hollow eyes suddenly turned scarlet. Then, it let out a roar and slashed out a blood-colored saber chi that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, attacking the formations. An eerie sight took place. The formations suddenly became extremely fragile. Cracks soon appeared on them as their strength dropped rapidly. Lu Qinin took a deep breath. She had underestimated the two women. To be more precise, she had underestimated their preparation. The move that they had executed was specifically designed to destroy formations. It was similar to the formation-devouring bug. Qin Nan, let's settle this once and for all. Jiang and I unleashed a tremendous aura. His robe flapped wildly as wisps of sword intents appeared in the rift. A destructive aura surged across the place like a storm. He and I had used his trump card, a drop of his past life's blood. Of his past life's past life. It's past Qin Nan's. Jiang Qin Nan was Jiang Billy, but he could still use the blood he used to execute the move. However, he Jiang and I was Jiang. The path of the great Tao is endless. Past life, present life, only one move. Jiang and I let out a roar. The sky in all directions darkened completely. An incomparably terrifying sword Tao momentum was condensing in the unseen world, causing the minds of many cultivators present to tremble uncontrollably. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Jiang and I to be able to execute such a powerful move. The heavens are helping me, the heavens are helping me. Feng Wuheng burst out laughing. His figure flickered in the darkness. Qin Nan, you're a man that I'm impressed by. I'll show you my strongest move. The 9 vortexes behind him began to merge with the pitch-black devouring vortex as the main vortex, forming a 9-colored vortex. It was extremely unstable. The vortex kept shaking as if it was going to break at any second. However, its aura had reached a terrifying level. Jiang Ni's past life and present life was a lot dimmer compared to it. The reason being that Feng Wuheng had forcibly merged the power of the 9 fleshes. Feng Wuheng's face turned pale. His blood was burning continuously as he felt a sharp pain coming from it. However, Feng Wuheng's eyes flickered with excitement when he sensed the incredible power, union of man and soul, sky-plucking hand. The second immortal, Zhuang Chen's figure suddenly appeared and merged with him. Following it, he waved the bone in his hand and unleashed an ancient aura to control the 9-colored vortex. Ha 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 ha, destroy everything. Feng Wuheng's burst of laughter echoed in the heavens and earth. The 9-colored vortex was slashed at Qin Nan like a sword. From afar, it looked like an immemorial master dragon and an awe-inspiring supreme being dragon were roaring, as if they were going to destroy everything. Bring it on! Qin Nan's blue-red hair drifted wildly in the wind under the 2 peerless attacks. His battle intent had reached an unprecedented level. He felt a great sense of danger when Feng Wuheng and Jiang and I teamed up against one another. It felt like the two of them were evenly matched, and neither of them was able to determine the outcome of the battle. Break! The Tao intents of the 12 arts of Tao seeking in Qin Nan's body merged with the heaven-shattering saber and turned into a brilliant white saber glow. The darkness was penetrated, and the ground was illuminated. The saber glow struck the 2 ancient dragons. Bang! All of the rocks below the waist of the Supreme Being Mountain were completely shattered, turning into divine light that filled the sky. An incomparably terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, the cultivators were frightened, and the void was cut into countless pieces. Su Nu, the exceptional geniuses, and the rest of the cultivators were astounded. The battle between the 3 was absolutely terrifying. It did not feel like a battle between peerless rulers, but 3 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage. Is Qin Nan still alive? Many cultivators couldn't help but mutter to themselves as they looked at the ball of chaotic light. Who exactly won? Whoosh whoosh. All of a sudden, two auras emerged from this ball of chaotic light. It's Feng Wuheng and Jiang Ni's auras. A cultivator blurted out in astonishment, Qin Nan has been defeated. The rest of the cultivators were astounded too. However, before they could react, Chapter 2019. Qin Nan won. The cultivators were dumbfounded. How is this possible? How is this possible? I've acquired the successor of the second immortal and the 9 fleshes. How did I lose? Feng Wuheng fell to his knees and yelled as the chaotic light dissipated. His hair was disheveled. More than 20 wounds were left on his body. Blood was pouring out from them. He was in a miserable state. On the other hand, Jiang Ni stuck his sword into the ground with a pale face. Even though his white robe was clean and did not have a single drop of blood on it, if one took a closer look, the sword in his hand was already covered in cracks. It no longer had any aura or presence. He was a sword cultivator, yet his sword was gone. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat, there's no why, no if. Qin Nan looked at the two. A new and powerful force was unleashed from the Tao-melting immortal flames that had run out of energy. A wisp of the aura of a 9 heavens supreme surged across the place. Jiang Ni, Feng Wuheng, either way, I must thank you for giving me the chance to fight with my full strength. If you want to fight me again in the future, I'm more than happy to oblige. The 12 arts of Tao seeking in Qin Nan's body calmed down. The heaven-shattering saber turned into an arm, while the tree of Tao withdrew into his body. At that instant, countless dragon roars echoed throughout the heavens and earth. Countless enormous golden dragons with mystical auras slithered out of the cracks and entered Qin Nan's body, as if a path had been opened. This was the Supreme Dragon. After reaching the peak of the Supreme Mountain, it would appear and enter the cultivator's body, causing the cultivator to undergo a complete transformation, surpassing the immortal realm. Every 9 heavens supreme dragon summoned by the cultivators was golden without exception, but the eyes of the 9 heavens supreme dragon that Qin Nan had summoned were purple-golden, making it look even more noble. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat. Ha ha ha, you're right, you're King right. Feng Wuheng's eyes flickered murderously. I might have lost to you, but once I achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm, I'll be able to claim everything Zhuang Chen left behind. I can still kill you even if the 9 fleshes haven't merged. He quickly rose to his feet, turned into a beam of light, and flew to the top of his most exalted mountain. He took one step after another, and at the same time, performed hand seals to shatter the tribulations and reach the peak. The Dragon of Supremacy appeared once again. Although Feng Wuheng was extremely displeased and unwilling to accept this, his mental fortitude allowed him to forcefully suppress his emotions very quickly. Either way, he had no choice but to achieve the 9 heavens supreme realm first. After all, in the eyes of many people, he deserved to die more than Qin Nan. Defeated, unlike him, the light in Jiang Ni's eyes dimmed and the aura in his body started to weaken. There would only ever be one true king in this world. And yet, he had lost the battle. Although he had been defeated many times in the past, this time was different. From the very beginning, he had been accumulating his willpower and pouring his mind into this battle. Jiang Ni, have you forgotten? Have you forgotten what you saw? All of a sudden, an ancient voice exploded in his divine sense. Don't you want to be a part of the battle between the outstanding figures? Are you going to give up after a single defeat? Don't you have enough regrets from your past life? Each and every word was like thunder, directly striking his soul. It was the seal that Jiang Ni's past life had left deep inside his soul when he merged with the body of his past life. It would only appear when he was in great danger. Jiang Ni shuddered. Countless scenes flashed across his mind. Jiang Ni's expression kept changing. There were mixed feelings, sighs, and regret. Even though only half a breath had passed, it felt like a few years had passed for him. Finally, Jiang Ni's eyes focused. He said with a hoarse voice, "Thank you for your past life." He unleashed his aura once again. It turned into a sword glow and soared to the top of the supreme mountain. Even though he was still lost and his heart was in a mess, he knew one thing. He had to achieve the 9 heavens' supreme realm. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life once he figured it out. The 3 of them are on the verge of achieving the 9 heavens' supreme realm. All the cultivators at the scene watched the scene unfold in unison. Not bad, how extraordinary! Meanwhile, Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan's gazes were focused on the most eye-catching figure, who they were most concerned about. Su Nu, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers wore displeased looks when they realized what was going on. Qin Nan was going to achieve the 9 heavens' supreme realm. It did not matter who was there to stop Qin Nan. They could only kill Qin Nan who had achieved the 9 heavens' supreme realm. Bang! 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 Qin Nan, Jiang Anai, and Feng Wuheng's auras skyrocketed. Their brilliance soon suppressed the crowd. Many cultivators were astounded by the overwhelming aura of the 9 heavens' supreme realm. Their eyes were filled with fear. At the same time, earth-shaking changes took place in their bodies. Qin Nan's Tao-melting immortal flames, immortal eyes of the divine god of battle, heaven-shattering saber, and the divine battle spirit deep inside his body were unleashed as if the last seal had been lifted. Following it, the tree of Tao in his body evolved too. The 9-colored glow flowing across its roots, trunk, and branches had a new color. It now had 10 different colors. The aura of the tree of Tao had reached an unbelievable level. After all, a peerless ruler was still a heaven immortal, but a 9 heavens supreme had completely surpassed the immortal realm. There was a huge difference between the two. Whoosh! The ownerless heaven pattern suddenly emitted a brilliant glow while the others were evolving too. Countless purple pieces surged into the incomplete purple crystal in Qin Nan's divine sense like a river. Is my real past life finally going to be awakened? Qin Nan's attention was fully focused on the scene. Meanwhile, the rift high up in the sky began to collapse as blinding rays burst out from it, accompanied by a shocking aura of the 9 heavens supremes. In just a brief moment, the color of the surroundings changed drastically. Chapter 2020. A total of 27 figures were floating in the air. None of them were in the early stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm, nor were they in the greater success stage. They were all in the peak 9 heavens supreme realm. The 9 heavens supremes of the extreme living gate are here. The 9 heavens supremes of the reincarnation sect are here. The patriarch of the superfluous lifeless sect is here. The cultivators were dumbfounded when they saw the figures. Even though they had expected it, they could not help but feel astounded. It was unlikely they would see such a lineup if they were not in the void heaven realm. Besides, it was most likely only the beginning. He has achieved the 9 heavens supreme realm? The 27 peak 9 heavens supremes immediately wore a dark expression when they saw Qin Nan, Jiang Anai, and Feng Wuheng's condition. Am I still a little too late? Qin Nan's eyes sprang open when he sensed the presence of the 9 heavens supreme realm. He was not surprised, as he was already mentally prepared for it. Die. The patriarch of the superfluous lifeless sect did not waste any time. A tremendous murderous aura burst out from his body, causing the heavens and earth to tremble vigorously. A formidable aura was accumulated, causing the cultivators to feel intimidated. The peak 9 heavens supreme realm was just too terrifying. Every move he made felt like he was going to destroy everything. How dare you! Suddenly, a ferocious roar exploded. Supreme Chang Shao, Supreme Huanglei, and 3 other Peak 9 Heavens Supremes arrived from the distance. Supreme Huanglei waved his sleeves, causing the sky to darken as the aura shattered into pieces. Changshao? The eyes of the patriarch of the superfluous lifeless sect widened. He snapped coldly, "You clearly know what Qin Nan has done. If you dare to protect him, the superfluous lifeless sect will declare war against you." "That's right. The 10 Desires Dao sect will declare war against you too. Changshao, is your Sky Taihuang sect planning to go against the 10 Supreme Taoism factions?" Many peerless rulers were astounded by the words. If a war really broke out between the Supreme Taoism factions, it was very likely that a great war would sweep across the entire 9 Heavens immortal realm. Supreme Changshao clenched his right hand under his sleeve. Blue veins surfaced on his forehead. His expression was the most unpleasant it had been over the past few hundred years. To be honest, there wasn't much affection between him and Qin Nan. However, Qin Nan was a core disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect. On the day he took over as the sect master, he had told his father that no matter what happened, he would never stand by and watch the disciples of the sect. "Sect master, forget it. Qin Nan can understand you." Supreme Huanglei sent a voice transmission to Qin Nan. Supreme Changshao loosened his grip and let out a sigh in his heart. He had no other choice. "Supreme Changshao," Qin Nan suddenly spoke. He tossed the 2 badges forward and shattered them into pieces. "From today onward, I, Qin Nan, am no longer a core disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect, nor am I your honorable disciple." Supreme Changshao and the others were startled. Qin Nan raised his head and glanced at the reputable authorities. He let out a calm smile and said, "Feel free to come at me if you have any problems." A 9 Heavens Supreme of the 10 Desires Dao sect said with a hollow laugh, "At least you're responsible. Die." As soon as he finished the sentence, before he could make his move, a brilliant light that felt like a godly sword crossed the distance and slashed at him. The 9 Heavens Supreme was startled. He quickly executed a peerless Dao art to defend himself. A series of explosions took place. The 9 Heavens Supreme was knocked a few hundred steps back before he managed to nullify the attack. "You all are pretty quick." A handsome young man walked over from the distant void with a smile on his face. Behind him were 50 figures of various sizes. Each figure was emitting an aura that had reached the Peak 9 Heavens Supreme realm. Among them, 5 of them did not emit any aura at all, just like the young man. However, the 27 9 Heavens Supremes, Supreme Changshao, and the others were startled. The patriarch of the Heaven-Slaying sect was here in person, and 5 masters of Tao were with him. Beast hide drawing. Qin Nan's eyes flickered coldly. "Qin Nan is on my side." The beast hide drawing withdrew his smile and said, "If you don't want to die, you should leave at once if you don't want to fight me with your entire sect." A shocking sight took place. The 27 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes held their breath. They were dumbfounded by the words. "Cultivator, aren't you being too full of yourself? Is the Heaven-Slaying sect really going to fight us for a mere Qin Nan?" The patriarch of the superfluous lifeless sect said with a dark expression. It was true that they did not want to fight the Heaven-Slaying sect, but the Supreme Taoism factions would not allow themselves to be bullied so easily. If they did not kill Qin Nan today, how were they going to keep their dignity? If they were infuriated, they would start a war. Kill! A boundless murderous aura surged across the place all of a sudden. Countless skeletons of various sizes were gathered in the distance like a boundless ocean. They were heading straight for the 3 supreme mountains like a tide of beasts. Many of them were Peak 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage, an early stage of the 9 Heavens Supreme realm. The weakest among them was a peerless ruler in the early stage. Is that Su knew, the exceptional geniuses, and the peerless rulers could feel their scalp exploding. There were simply too many skeletons. They had no doubt that with their cultivation, If they were to stand in front of this terrifying army of skeletons, they would probably be annihilated in an instant. The skeletons in the Forbidden River? Did the ancient taboo activate it? The 9 Heavens Supremes were dumbfounded. Even the beast hide drawing could not help but twist his lip. It seemed like the ancient taboo had completely lost its mind after Feng Wuheng showed up. It was willing to sacrifice so much just to kill Feng Wuheng. 6th Cultivator, you're really full of yourself. I didn't kill you last time, but you won't be able to escape this time. A sinister voice echoed within a few 100,000 li. A bloodied figure without any skin came from the distance. His true form? The ancient taboo is here? The 9 Heavens Supremes were astounded. The expression in the beast hide drawing's eyes turned stern. As for the rest of the cultivators, they could no longer describe their astonishment with words. The ancient taboo had been infamous for many years. Countless exceptional geniuses, 9 Heavens Supremes, and even authorities in the Master Realm had died at its hands. Countless great forces loathed it, but no one could uproot it. Besides, it had always been mysterious. It had never shown itself to anyone. Now, it had shown up in person because of Qin Nan and Feng Wuheng. Is that the ancient taboo's true form? Qin Nan squinted. His divine sense shuddered as he was observing the ancient taboo. Chapter 2021. Qin Nan, Feng Wuheng. The ancient taboo stared at Qin Nan and Feng Wuheng with its bloodshot eyes. Even though it was threatening the beast hide drawing, it had no intention of doing anything to him. Last time, when the beast hide drawing had just appeared, it was unable to kill it. It had already missed the best opportunity. If it really wanted to kill the beast hide drawing, it would definitely not be able to do it under normal circumstances. It would have to wait for an excellent opportunity. However, Qin Nan and Feng Wuheng were different. They had to die this time. TSK, ancient taboo, you used to be on par with the 10 immortals in the past, yet you've turned into something that's neither human nor ghost. How pitiful. Feng Wuheng opened his eyes and said mockingly. His aura was rising steadily, and everything in his body was undergoing a great transformation. The eyes of the 9 Heavens Supremes and the cultivators flickered with astonishment. They did not expect Feng Wuheng to be so bold as to say something like that. Die! The ancient taboo's eyes emitted a bloody glow. A terrifying force surged across the sky and turned into a few dozen different attacks. It was like the apocalypse. Nothing could escape from it. As Feng Wuheng mentioned, the ancient taboo was on par with the 10 immortals in the past. Even though it was no longer as strong as it used to be, the power it possessed was still terrifying. It was stronger than ordinary peak masters of Tao. Each of its attacks was strong enough to kill a master of Tao, let alone a 9 Heavens Supreme. Ancient taboo, let's see how strong you are compared to the past. The beast hide drawing burst out laughing as he executed the impenetrable sacred flesh. His body emitted a few ancient sacred glows as he unleashed a destructive force to nullify the attacks. Kill! The 5 Masters of Tao and the 9 Heavens Supremes of the Heaven-Slaying Sect unleashed their auras and executed their master arts and Tao arts at the River of White Bones. Heaven-Splitting Sword. At that instant, a supreme sword ray tore the rift apart. 3 authorities in the Master Realm and several 9 Heavens Supremes came out of the rift. The leader of the group was a Master of Tao. He was wearing a dark red robe and a hideous mask. He was holding an ancient sword engraved with the figures of his ancestors. The sword had a formidable will of Tao. It was a Tao-seeking weapon, one of the heirloom artifacts of the heaven-repelling ancient sect. The heaven-repelling ancient sect has joined the battle. The patriarchs and peak 9 Heavens Supremes of the other Supreme Taoism factions were startled. Now that things have come to this, what should we do? A 9 Heavens Supreme blurted out. Everyone, it's not a trivial matter that someone has stolen the art of Tao seeking. The patriarch of the superfluous lifeless sect said coldly, "Since the ancient taboo is involved, why don't we ask the masters of Tao to find a chance to kill Qin Nan?" The eyes of the other peak 9 heavens supremes flickered as they nodded. "Not only do we have to deal with Qin Nan, we can't let Feng Wuhan off either. He was the one who devoured Lu Gufeng." A peak 9 heavens supreme of the reincarnation sect took out a saber and said, "Let's do it." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 9 heavens supremes of the other supreme Taoism factions were involved too. An unimaginably terrifying battle took place above the entrance of the first sacred area. Apart from Qin Nan, Jiang Anai, and Feng Wuhan, who were still at the top of the supreme mountain, the rest of the peerless rulers were already a few 100,000 li away. They were unleashing their immortal force and eye techniques to observe the battle. Even so, their hearts were still pounding when they sensed the auras. The battle has begun. The people from the mysterious faction in the void heaven realm, some ancient existences, ancient tribes, and experts were observing the battle through various means. Even though they were not involved in the battle, they were eager to know the outcome. Bang, bang, bang. The heavens and earth crumbled as the rules were in chaos. The supreme mountain where Qin Nan and his crew were standing was like 3 little boats in a great storm. If it weren't for the beast-hide drawing, the heaven-repelling ancient sect, and the extreme living gate, they would have been devoured by the storm long ago. Jiang Ni's eyes suddenly sprang open. The changes in his body calmed down. His cultivation had reached the early stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm. "Jiang and I, let's go." A peak 9 heavens supreme of the extreme living gate immediately grabbed Jiang and I and brought him away. "Ha ha ha, ancient taboo, you can keep fighting, I'll be leaving first." Feng Wuhan finished his transformation too. He burst out laughing and used a mysterious artifact to vanish into thin air. The 3 masters of Tao of the heaven-repelling ancient sect and the rest of the 9 heavens supremes withdrew their attacks. They withdrew from the battlefield by disappearing into the rift. Trying to run away? The ancient taboo grinned sinisterly. It had shown itself for the first time to set up a trap. How could it possibly let anyone leave so easily? "What's going on with Qin Nan?" The beast-hide drawing noticed something strange about Qin Nan. Qin Nan should have finished his breakthrough by now. The flower of eternity in his body should have completed its transformation too. Dang! Suddenly, the faint sound of a bell rang out. Even in the midst of the explosions, it was extremely clear, reaching the ears of every expert present and every cultivator within hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Is that? The ancient taboo and the beast-hide drawing were startled. They were wondering if they had heard it wrong. Dang, dang, dang. 3 more chimes of the bell took place, each louder than the previous one. Countless glowing runes spread out from Qin Nan's figure, which formed a mysterious pattern of 8 dragons at the peak of the mountain. Even when the shock waves from the battle between the Masters of Tao and the 9 Heavens Supremes landed on the mysterious pattern, it did not budge at all. 4 chimes of the bell, the 8 dragons pattern has appeared. Isn't this the rare phenomenon that only happens when someone awakens the memories of their past life? Could it be? The eyes of the ancient taboo, the beast-hide drawing, the Masters of Tao, and the 9 Heavens Supremes widened. At that instant, the mountain-shaped purple crystal in Qin Nan's divine sense had completely fallen off. A fragmented memory that had been sealed for many years surged deep into Qin Nan's divine sense like a great tide. Chapter 2022. I didn't think I'd be able to talk to my future life one day. How interesting. The faint voice was like peerless thunder, exploding in the entire starry sky. Who exactly are you? Qin Nan looked at the figure and asked the question that had been bothering him for a long time. I'm sorry, I've sacrificed everything I had in the battle. Not only can I not leave you with anything, I'm putting you in great danger and responsibility instead. The illusionary figure continued, as if he did not hear Qin Nan's words. However, I've already achieved the greater success stage of the flesh of eternity. Even though my flesh has already broken into pieces, it's indestructible. Its power of eternity will be reborn in the Tao-seeking land. You must take it down when the time comes. Qin Nan was startled. The power of eternity? The illusionary figure seemed to be running out of energy. His voice began to stutter and lower. I wonder if you're a human immortal, or a nine heavens supreme. Ruler, you must remember, you must succeed in the world. After the last word was spoken, the illusory figure dissipated and turned into nothingness. Following it, Qin Nan felt like he had turned into a different person. The vast galaxy began to change continuously. It turned into countless fragmented images. He was standing on top of a mountain with an extraordinary aura. The divine god of battle, who was covered in blood, was standing behind him. He was struggling and hesitating. In the end, he clenched his teeth and dropped to his knee, as if he had just made an important decision. On the other side, a gentle middle-aged scholar was wearing a smile. The scene changed. He, the valiant god of war, and the middle-aged scholar were in a sea. There were countless corpses on the sea, and the seawater was dyed red. Two young men were kneeling in midair, crying loudly. Their faces were full of grief. He went forward and reached out his hand with a stern look. He was holding a chubby kid in his arms with a loving look. The middle-aged scholar, the divine god of battle, the two young men, and many others were overjoyed. The image changed again. He was holding a sword with a cold look. No one knew where he went. The flames of war had broken out. The great Tao fell, heaven and earth ceased to exist, and the world turned into a bloody hell. His figure fell from the endless sky. The elegant scholar, covered in blood, had a ferocious expression on his face. The wounded war god, the two young men, and many other figures were all filled with grief and anger, as if they had gone mad. At the same time, above the entrance to the first sacred area, Qin Nan is actually awakening the memories of his past life? Does Qin Nan have another background? The masters of Tao and the nine heavens supremes gasped when they noticed something was not right. At their level, they were naturally not fools. They instantly guessed many things. Qin Nan, a person from the secondary lower realm, was able to become the successor of the god of war. Moreover, the sixth immortal, the heaven-slaying sect leader, cared so much about Qin Nan. If all of this was because of Qin Nan's previous life, then it was really terrifying. Who is it? The sixth immortal. Who is Qin Nan's previous life? The ancient taboo seemed to have hit a sore spot. It blurted out hysterically, "Tell me, or I'll kill you here at all costs." The beast hide drawing ignored the ancient taboo. He frowned. He clearly took away the memories of Qin Nan's past life. How did Qin Nan awaken the memories of his past life? If Qin Nan's past life was not that piece of trash, why did the memories he took only belong to that piece of trash? I almost forgot, the memories I took were only fragments. Knowing the divine god of battle's style, he might have left some of them in Qin Nan's body so he could awaken them when he achieved the nine heavens supreme realm, the beast hide drawing murmured. The beast hide drawing thought to himself as he heaved a sigh of relief. The beast hide drawing raised his head and chuckled when he saw the ancient taboo's reaction. Why are you so scared? Don't worry, Qin Nan's past life is my master's son. The ancient taboo was startled. Was he referring to the prodigal son who indulged in wine and women despite his outstanding talents? He's still alive. The ancient taboo's expression darkened. Blue veins surfaced on its forehead. The ancient taboo might have wanted to kill Feng Wuheng before this, but Qin Nan was now the #1 priority in its mind. Even though the prodigal son was nothing in its eyes, he was still that person's son. He was the tumor of the nine heavens, immortal realm. That person's son? The eyes of the authorities in the master realm and the peak nine heavens supremes who knew the truth widened. Their hearts were in great astonishment. They did not expect Qin Nan's background to be so terrifying. The truth is out in the end. Supreme Chang Shao let out another long sigh in his heart. As a matter of fact, the Sky Tai Huang sect already had their suspicions. Even though Qin Nan's past life was just a prodigal son who indulged in wine and women, once the news spread, Qin Nan would have a hard time in the Nine Heavens immortal realm. Besides, Qin Nan had offended so many Supreme Taoism factions. What's going on? The peerless rulers in the distance were dumbfounded. Why did the battle stop all of a sudden? Only Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were communicating with two powerful existences with their divine sense. Are you referring to Shao Nanzi's past life? The two frowned. Yeah, I'm advising you not to get involved with him. Otherwise, it's going to be troublesome. Besides, Qin Nan wouldn't want to see you two in danger either. Princess Miao Miao harumphed coldly and said, Old man, are you going back on your words? Li Ji and Mo Xiaoli, who were hiding in the rift, immediately wore gloomy looks. They had an urge to slap themselves in the face. Why did they promise their disciples that they would save Qin Nan's life, and even swear 13 oaths? Wait, look, Qin Nan is reacting. Li Ji suddenly blurted out. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan lifted their gazes. Their souls immediately rippled strangely. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.